Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Let's keep those lines moving. Once you have been served, just keep moving so that everybody can, get in there in good time. You're served and keep on moving. All right, all right. hasira za nini we Bwana, wataka kuniua bure Baba, wataka kuniua bure Baba. Yule si wako nami si wangu, chukia nini kati yangu mimi na wewe? Chukia nini kati yangu mimi na wewe? Le 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 li le 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 li lo, oh, oh, mama. Hasira za nini we Bwana, hasira za nini we Bwana, wataka kuniua bure Baba, wataka kuniua bure Baba. Wako hayuko, wangu hayuko, chukia nini kati yangu mimi na wewe? Chukia nini kati yangu mimi na wewe? Le 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 li le 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 li lo, oh, oh, mama. Hasira za nini we Bwana, hasira za nini we Bwana, wataka kuniua bure Baba, wataka kuniua bure Baba. Wewe una wako nyumbani na mimi nina wangu nyumbani, chukia nini kati yangu mimi na wewe? Chukia nini kati yangu mimi na wewe? Nasema sina makosa we Bwana, sina makosa we Bwana. Ayo, sina makosa we Bwana.
akao mama, Fatu wangu mama. Nilikueleze akao mama, Fatu wangu mama. Mapenzi ya kwetu haitakawia kama mama. Mapenzi ya kwetu haitakawia kama mama. Tabia yako na yangu haisikilizane. Tabia yako na yangu haisikilizane. Unaona sasa we mama. Unaona sasa we mama. Unapenda kuvaa, mimi sina namna Fatu we. Unapenda kula vizuri, mimi sina pesa Fatu we. Nipe mali sizoweye, niwe mtu nipate dawa ya pesa. Niwe mtu atanifunga, niwe mtu zambi kwa Mungu Baba. Kama onipende weye, wende lote mama. Kama onipende weye, wende lote mama. Shauri yako, shauri yako shauri yako, shauri yako shauri yako, wende lote zena wangu. Siwezi kuwa mtu mama, zambi kwa Mungu Baba yo. Siwezi kuwa mtu mama, zambi kwa Mungu Baba yo. Shauri yako, shauri yako shauri yako, shauri yako shauri yako, wende lote zena wangu. Siwezi kuwa mtu mama, zambi kwa Mungu Baba yo. Siwezi kuwa mtu mama, zambi kwa Mungu Baba yo. Wende lote zena wangu. Watanifunga, niwe mtu zambi kwa Mungu Baba. Kama onipende weye, wende lote mama. Kama onipende weye, wende lote mama. Shauri yako, shauri yako shauri yako, shauri yako shauri yako, wende lote zena wangu. Siwezi kuwa mtu mama, zambi kwa Mungu Baba yo. Siwezi kuwa mtu mama, zambi kwa Mungu Baba yo. Oh, zena wangu, wende lote zena. Wende lote mkamaso. popote ulipozipokee. Nisalimie ndugu na wazazi wako mama, popote waliko Afro. Mimi si jambo lakini mawazo tele moyoni, nina wasiwasi. Nikikumbuka tulivyoachana mara ya mwisho, uliniahidi Afro tungeonana mapema, siku zinapita bibi, mbona sikuoni mama? Afro mama yao toto asagana kaa ukumbuke penzi ugeukae leo kwangu kesho kwako mama utanikumbuka Afro toto asagana. Salimie ndugu na wazazi wako mama, popote walipo Afro. Mimi si jambo lakini mawazo tele moyoni, nina wasiwasi. Nikikumbuka tulivyoachana mara ya mwisho, uliniahidi Afro tungeonana mapema, siku zinapita bibi, mbona sikuoni mama? Afro mama yao toto asagana kaa ukumbuke penzi ugeukae leo kwangu kesho kwako mama utanikumbuka yao Afro. Kirinyaga sagana usiniweke pembeni mama, ingawa wako wengi wazuri mami, lakini nimekuchagua wewe. Tabia zako sana, sura yako, nimeridhika kuwa na wewe. Sagana unipeleke mama nikawaone wazazi wako mama, na tisedi pia tufike mami, ukawaone baba na mama. Mengine mengi sisemi mama, uamuzi na kuachia wewe. Mwisho na kuombea salama Afro, mpaka siku tutaponana mami.
ladies and gentlemen, as we are continuing to eat, is the food delicious? Hear me out. As we are eating, we want to let you know that we do have vendors out there. Is everybody hearing me? We do have vendors out there who have come with their merchandise, and it's important for you to know what they have out there. We do have a lady called Aisha. Aisha. She has fantastic just outfits out there. As you can see, Ben has already won one for himself. So you will go out there, you get shirts, you get clothes, and her name is Aisha. We also have Gem Pro Roofing, the company of the man who was out here singing, Jesse. He has his CDs, he has his cards. Go out there and visit that table and get to know what wonderful merchandise he has. And then we have two authors are out there. All right. Two women authors are out there. We have Mukuhe Wamwangi. She has the book Kikuyu Mystery Revealed. Kikuyu Mystery Revealed. If you want to know the Kikuyu Mystery Revealed, go out there. She has a table. Buy her book. And then we have the one and only Lois and Jerry Penina. And she's a survivor. And she has a book called Destiny in the Hands of God. So the books are out there. Let's support them. Let's buy their merchandise. We also have a wonderful sister out there with her husband. Her name is Joy, and her husband is Fred, Pastor Fred Lewis. They have magnets for your fridge. They have a scripture, and that scripture says, stop being angry, turn from rage, do not lose your temper, it only leads to harm. As we know with domestic violence, the first thing one has to do is don't lose your temper. And that's a very good reminder for you to have on the fridge, reminding you every day when people get into your nerves, just get them out of your nerves, because you do not want to be angry, because anger then leads to rage, and then you lose your temper, and no good comes from losing the temper. So go out there. Their table is out there. They have the magnets, and they also have T-shirts with the same. She's one lady who does a lot of Bible study for kids. And when my children were very little, I took them to the Bible study, and this scripture has been part of their lives. My children are now 22 and 16. From when they were little, they learned it is not good to lose your temper. So even when they're in school and they're being bullied, they go to a teacher. And as grown-ups, we have to control our temper. So go out there and buy and support their ministry. We also have G Pro Media, Maurice Maora, the operational director. He's out here, so you need to also support him. This event is fully loaded, fully packed, fully supported. It is because everybody, Monica, everybody has agreed that domestic violence has got to stop. Everybody has agreed. And we are coming out, people are coming out, and we are encouraging everybody to come out of the shadows so we can be able to do this. So, moving on. Continue eating. If you want more food, go get it, but we're going to move on with the program. I'm going to call a wonderful lady here who's going to introduce the CEO. The woman who is involved in putting this together is going to come and tell us why we are here, and this program is going to move. I'm going to humbly request, that when somebody comes in front here to talk, if we can listen. Thank you. Pin drop silence. We're getting into that place where we really want to dive in, and we want to be able to listen and understand, because you're here maybe for yourself, but we're all here also for somebody else. somebody in the community needs us to listen to how we're going to solve the problem. So I do request that when I introduce, or we introduce the panelists are going to come up here in just a minute. The questions are going to start rolling, and the CEO is going to come and speak. Let's just pay attention and take notes and know what to do next. The lady that I'm going to introduce is called the Face of Kenya USA 2018. They just had the competition and she won. Her name is Diana Muhoro. She not only is she the Face of Kenya 2018, she's also a teacher, she's an actress. Put your hands together and help me welcome the beautiful, the humble, the wonderful, Diana Muhoro, as she comes to introduce the CEO. Welcome.
Thank you.
Isn't she lovely?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hi. Did you guys eat? Yeah. Hello, everybody. Like she said, my name is Diana Muhoro. I am about to introduce someone who is very dear to my heart. I've known her for a couple of years now since I moved to Texas and even before I moved to Texas. And I just want you to listen clearly because this is a powerhouse. I don't know if you know the Bible. They talk about Proverbs 31 woman. She is that kind of woman. So this is Monica Kariuki. She grew up in Kenya and has lived in Texas since 2007. Growing up in Kenya exposed her to poverty and its extreme impact on communities. She observed community members overwhelmed by poverty that spreads through families, destroying dreams of young children who reluctantly accepted their fate to be helpless. Over the years, Monica got involved in supporting the voiceless, those impacted by life misfortunes and unable to help themselves. She identified and started educating children from needy families and continued to support some of these children up to this day. In 2017, Monica launched a radio station. I hope you all listen to that radio station, Echo FM. You know Echo FM? Yeah, and even they have the app. Make sure you download it on your phone tonight. So she started and launched the radio station in 2017, which she uses as a platform to educate her listeners on life issues. If you can tune in, you can find things about health, about women empowerment, children, poverty, all those things that you need to hear about our community. So she occasionally invites people, young professionals, to discuss on difficult topics that impact families, single parents, and does not try to question when public servants do not meet the public's expectations. Yes, she will get to question you. She will ask you the tough questions. She has interviewed U.S. political candidates and hosts public events that positively affect lives, such as leading campaign to stop domestic violence. That is why we're here today. So this is not only that she does that here, she also does it in Kenya, and we are going to go global. She is a voice for you to reckon with. She is a woman who is so powerful, and I'm just going to ask you all to stand on your feet as we welcome Miss Monica Kariuki, who I also call her as Monica wa Felix. Thank you so much, Monica. So we're going to dance to this song as she comes. DJ, can you please get the music? Let me see you dance. Hey, hey. Come on, Monica. Hey, get
You are the God of signs and wonders. You are the God of miracles. You gave me joy and peace within, Lord.
Everybody's dancing?
Yes, I have come to testify.
This is not working.
No one can do the things you do.
You want to dance?
Always on time, you never late. I've got to stand and testify, Lord. This miracle.
Come on, stand up on your feet and say, we testify. We celebrate.
For all you've done, Lord.
may be seated. Thank you so much. Thank you, Diana, for that introduction. I give honor and glory to God on this day for his mighty favors. As Caroline Day reminded me this morning, Monica, God has your back. It has been raining, but today the sun is out. That's what Caroline told me today. I'm humbled and honored to have the panelists today. Kathy Chang, who came from Houston. Thank you so much, Kathy. Your time is precious, and I appreciate you today. Sarah Depew, who is also running for state representative, candidate District 67. Thank you for being here. Reverend Moshina and Pastor Kingori, for taking a stand as religious leaders to end domestic violence. Sarah Brooks, Caroline Day, and Vicky Oduk, thank you so much. I also want to thank you, Lucy Tifase. She's always prayed for me. That means a lot, Lucy. Thank you. I thank my family and friends that have supported me through this journey. I didn't foresee this day to be this beautiful, and I thank my family so much. I thank all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Your time is valuable, and I don't take it for granted. I appreciate you all more than words could ever express. You all look so beautiful. And thank you for gracing this occasion. I came to America many years ago in search of greener pastures, leaving my parents and some siblings back home. No sooner had I settled, I heard that my second-born brother was in a fight with his wife and was seriously injured. It was not unusual for them to engage in a fight. But on this day, his wife had hit him with a hammer on the head and causing a deep wound where blood gushed out. As he lay on the ground, bleeding profusely, and my dad scrambling for the car keys to take him to the hospital, my sister-in-law was insulting my mom, calling her ugly names. That those names, whatever it is that was said, up to date, my mother has never been able to have courage to tell us. Yet, when I decided to hold a domestic violence awareness event, I had completely forgotten about my brother. My motivation was from videos I had seen and the stories I had read from social media. Some stories doing rounds in social media include a woman repeatedly stabbed for wearing makeup, a woman burnt to death, a man shot to death by his wife here in Texas, a woman hit with a hammer, a woman raped and beaten mercilessly, left on a railway line, a pharmacy killing his wife and a child. The 8-year-old daughter, he died in the arms of his 13-year-old brother. And the list goes on. Then I remembered my brother, and my anger was rekindled. I cried thinking of the pain my mom went through, helplessly looking at her son profusely bleed from the head. The anger and frustration of my dad taking his son to the hospital, and the pending bureaucracy. For those familiar with Kenya, you do know that you have to visit a police station to get a form called a P3, a Kenya Police Medical Report, before any treatment can be rendered on any victim physically injured. This is what happened to my brother. But he refused to get the P3 report. He refused to report the incident to the police after considering his young kids who he believed needed their mother. 2 years in America, I returned to Kenya. This time round, my brother's mouth was to the left. He looked as if he had suffered a stroke, but come to learn it was as a result of the head injury that never got treated. He later died from a cause unrelated to the injury. Domestic violence, my friends, is on the rise, and we need to create more awareness and support for the survivors. The reality is it affects not just the two involved persons, but the children, the families of both parties, and their friends. It does not matter what age you are, race, gender, or sexuality. Domestic violence can affect anyone. The stronghold of androcentric practices. Most societies disenfranchises women. Unfortunately, as a society, we have accepted these practices and effectively use them to reduce women to nothing. It is therefore frustrating to hear leaders like Gathoni wa Mushomba blame rape victims or turn a deaf ear to an assault victim because it happened many years ago, as we experienced not too long ago in this very country we love so much. Or silly assertions such as a woman was raped because she dressed seductively, or she was drunk, or other unacceptable reasons. Think about the many young girls who lose their lives because of their naivety and involvement with abusive individuals, who can forget Sharon Otieno's horrific death, or Corinne Chepchumba, an engineer with Kenya Power and Lighting Company, or Diana Chemutai, whose lifeless body was found outside her house in 2016. Karen Ngubi, Lucy Njambi, the list is endless and brings with it sad and painful memories. While the circumstances may vary, no individual deserves to die because of domestic violence, regardless of their status in the society. So what causes domestic violence? There is no specific cause. There is no specific cause of domestic violence. There are, however, common denominators we can identify as stimulants, such as early childhood experiences. It is said that an abuser may have most likely witnessed domestic violence during childhood or may have been a victim. Another common factor is major life shift, for example, pregnancy, relocation, financial hardship, including bankruptcy, or loss of income, etc. Where the perpetrator feels neglected, most common, however, is insecurity, where victims try to leave a relationship, causing the perpetrator to become abusive as to maintain control for fear of being left alone or being abandoned. There are also traditional beliefs where a partner believes that she has the right to control their partner, or that women are not equal to men. Finally, and certainly not the least, abusers may have undiagnosed personality, psychological, or mental disorders. Make no mistake, no cause of domestic violence justifies the abuser's actions, nor should it be used in defense of or as a rationale for their behavior. It is unacceptable for the abusers to cause harm on another human for reason of control or taking advantage of. Abusers need help from their destructive behavior, or else they ultimately end up in a worse situation. Could be jail or living a solitary life with friends or family. What can we do to stop or prevent domestic violence? We need to stop being judgmental. A married woman in an abusive relationship is afraid to leave because she fears being labeled as a single woman. There is a stigma that comes with being a single parent, yet we have fine young men and women that were raised by single parents. As a community, we should stop the labeling and treat such individuals as we could treat ourselves. Secondly, show you are a trustworthy friend by not sharing what someone in the most vulnerable situation has confided in you. Third, know the signs of domestic violence can happen to anyone, and no one is immune. Generally, there are warning signs, such as being jealous of your friends or time spent away from your partner, discouraging you from spending time away from your partner, embarrassing or shaming you, controlling all financial decisions, making you feel guilty for all the problems in the relationships, preventing you from working, and so on. Don't ignore such signs. Fourth, do something. If you hear or witness violence, call the police. You may save a life. It is better to fall on the side of error than to learn that your neighbor died from domestic violence. Fifth, listen if someone confides in you, suggesting he or she is experiencing domestic violence. Believe them. It is what they say it is. Sixth, know the number for the shelters. Vicky Oduk will be giving you that information later on today. At least know their physical address. Survivors leave abusive homes not knowing where they will spend the night. We at ECHOFM reach out to domestic violence survivors with a view to helping them back on their feet. No, we are a small organization, but any little thing you do matters. We will also be focusing in providing survivors with a platform where they can tell their stories to educate and empower other victims. We hope you can join us in the future for our events as we fight against domestic violence in our communities and societies. Once again, thank you for honoring us with your presence. Thank you very much. God bless every domestic violence survivor, whatever they may be today. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica, very much. We are going to get started here very shortly. I'm going to call to the stage some of these people so I can take stage. And, this is going to be a very, very interesting evening. It's going to be a very serious discussion, and we're going to ask for your contribution as we discuss. This is not a preaching moment. We're going to have a discussion. I'm going to ask for your contribution because this is how we're going to learn as a community together. So I'd like to ask Kathy Chain to take the stage. As you know, Kathy is running to be a Supreme Court Justice in the state of Texas. Make sure you check the ballot. I'm going to also request Sarah Depew to come to the front. Sarah Depew, yes, come on, Sarah. She's also running for representative for House District number 67, Texas. Make sure you check the ballot for her. And then finally, I'm going to ask our pastor, Pastor Kingori from Neema Church, to take the seat.
We also have Reverend Muchina from Boston. Come on, Reverend, and take a seat. We have Sarah Brooks, attorney, Dallas, Texas. Come on down and take a seat. And we have Ms. Carol Day, domestic violence survivor. Come on down.
And where is our moderator, our very own?
The one and only CEO, ekhofm,
Yes.
Monica.
Echo
Career
FM.
pay.
Give her a hand. Monica. The party is just about to start, folks, so take your
feel
seats.
free. It's engaging. And so when the moderator calls on us to say something, feel free. This is a free atmosphere. We all are going to be engaged because we all need to be part of the solution. All right, we got to hear from three of the panelists, but we didn't get to hear something 1 minute about the three that are here. So I'm going to start with the lady first. Just 1 minute about yourself, because you're going to have a long time to talk.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Caroline Bethy Day. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. I'm a survivor, advocate, and I'm blessed to be here tonight.
Give it up for Carol Day. We also have Pastor Kingori of Nehemiah Church. Pastor, say something.
Good evening. My name is Pastor Jackson Kingori. I'm the pastor and founder of Nehemiah Gospel Church here in Dallas. And I'm so proud to be part of this great community. And I support wholeheartedly what Monica is doing with her team. May the Lord bless you.
We have Reverend Machina. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Eric Machina, and I'm coming from Boston together with my wife. We are community leaders among our people in Boston. A believer and a supporter of the love of Jesus Christ concerning families. Welcome and thank you.
And last but not least, we have Sarah Brooks at Tony Dallas, Texas.
Hi, everyone. Hi, come on, be lively at least. It's a good night to be here. I'm Sarah Brooks, or Wairimo. I'm a Dallas attorney. I practice immigration family law. I've also represented quite a lot of people when it comes to CPS issues. So I'm quite familiar with, I may not have experienced the domestic violence myself, but this is something I encounter every day in my line of work. I've also helped a lot of immigrants through the legal process in things like VAWA, that is violence against women. It also covers men. It just doesn't cover the women only. It's just the name that is called VAWA, but it does cover men. So I'm quite familiar with this issue, and it's an issue that that is very, very sad. And at first I used to ask myself, how do a woman sit down and tolerate another man beating them? Because I'm like, if you do that to me, I will go nuts on you. But through my legal career, I've come to get a clear understanding that this issue are more like a disease. And this is a kind of disease that you just don't wake up one day and snap. It takes a lot of a process for you to get out of the domestic violence and to stand up.
Thank you, Sarah Brooks. Give it up for our well-versed panelists, and I'll hand it over to the CEO.
All right. Thank you so much, Millicent, and thank you, the panel. So what we have done, we have questions that most of you probably sent to my inbox. Whatever it is that was concerned is what I wanted us to cover today. And so we are going to go ahead and get started. So the first question, what is domestic violence? And this question is assigned to Kathy Chang and Reverend Moshina. So can we start with you, Reverend Moshina, or Kathy, or whoever is closer? Okay, ladies first. Kathy.
Thank you. Domestic violence, and as I've said earlier, I prefer to use the word domestic abuse, just because of the fact that when we hear domestic violence, people tend to think that physical abuse need to be present in order for domestic violence to be present. In reality, there are many forms of abuse under domestic violence. So essentially, domestic abuse is any physical abuse or other form of abuse conducted by an individual against another who's in a marital relationship, in a marriage, or against a partner in an intimate relationship, whether they're living together or not. So that's what encompasses domestic abuse, and it comes in many forms, as you'll see later down the road that when we go through the discussion, there are different forms.
Thank you. On top of that, when we are talking about intimate partners violence. We talk about violence and we actually don't go into the deeper understanding. Domestic abuse is a crime. And it is not only a crime, it is a crime of moral turpitude that can be described as the worst form of degrading abuse. Any form, emotional, sociological, mental. We are talking about those different expressions that are meant to gain control, to pin down one within an intimate relationship.
Thank you very much, Reverend Machina and Kathy. And I'm just going to digress a little bit. I think I'm going to give you guys a time limit just so that we can be on time. So I'm going to suggest for every question, you have at least 1 minute. Isn't that what you do when you have debates, Kathy? So you have 1 minute to respond to questions so we don't go too far into time. And then after every section, I will give you guys, the audience, time to engage in the same. Sounds good? All right. Okay, so can I have Sarah? Can you tell us forms of domestic violence? And then Caroline, I'm going to need you to say something about forms of domestic violence as well. Actually, Sarah DePue. I'm sorry, we have two Sarahs.
Yes, it's Sarah.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
It's a lovely name, so I'm glad
Yes,
to
it is.
have it. Yes, so, all right. Well, there are different forms of domestic violence, as alluded to earlier, domestic abuse, rather, and really they happen in a combination in a relationship, in a toxic relationship, where you have a partner that is emotionally abusing their partner, perhaps financially abusing their partner, and sometimes that can escalate into physical violence and even sexual violence. And just to give you a few concrete examples so that you can distinguish between them, examples of emotional abuse would be tricking the other partner into thinking that they're crazy, right? If they see things and they're speaking up about them, saying, no, you're crazy, you don't know what you're talking about, when no, they really are seeing that. After time, they're going to start questioning their own judgment and not believing themselves. And that happens in every abusive relationship. You always, the person who's doing the abusing always undermines their partner's trust in their own judgment. And then from there, it can be things like putting them down in front of their friends and family, isolating them, not letting them be around others. And this can escalate into physical violence as well, such as even pinning people down, keeping them in a room and not letting them leave, blocking their movement, hitting them, striking them, by any kind of physical harm there. And then, of course, there's sexual harm, anything that you would do, such as rape or having lots of infidelities and then using that to hurt your partner.
Give it to Caroline, please.
Thank you, Sarah. Actually, my other name is Sarah as well.
Great. We have three Sarahs now.
Well, she mentioned a lot of what I had written down, but what I would add on there is digital. In this world of social media, you find that there are victims who are abused through social media by their loved one. And they may be stalking the time you're spending online, who you're talking to. So those are things that we need to be careful about and mindful of, stalking, texting as well. So those are things that they also go through. She also mentioned sexual, but I would also add reproductive coercion, where they force you to use birth control, forced abortions, or sometimes they may even purposely infect you with STDs.
Wow. Does anybody in the audience have a comment or question about that? Just up to where we are. Anybody? No? Okay, moving. I'm sorry, somebody? Okay, somebody's coming with a mic so we can hear you.
Who is that? Oh, yeah.
Can you sue them if they infect you with an STD knowingly?
Does anybody want to answer that? Legal team?
in that type of scenario, the individual would usually file a claim. And let me just say, in Texas or any other court, okay, if there is a defendant, you could file for any type of lawsuit. Okay, it's a matter whether it's viable or not. And in that type of scenario, usually where it's between spouses, you would file the petition for a divorce, and you would state in there what's the reasoning for it. And those are some of the things that would come up eventually in the course of the divorce setting as to what led to the family discourse. But in a scenario like that, when you have the spouse purposely doing that, you could term it, because under the family code, and I've never encountered this, and Sarah may have, but where you file protective order for abuse. So let's say if we term that being creative and saying that is a form of abuse, you file the protective order saying that individual harmed you and this harm is likely to occur, making those arguments. And that's some of the things that I would do, and Sarah may have done it creatively, using the law to protect your client and also fighting to represent that claim. So like I said, I have never done it to where I filed that under the protective order, but let me send this to Sarah and see maybe she had done that.
Well, I haven't filed one, but as she said, there are creative ways on how you can get into the legal system to sue them. If let's say, for example, it was my client who walked into my office, and the line, it really all boils down to, did they knowingly know that they had it and they were trying to infect you with it to cause you emotional distress? So when it comes to civil matters, there's a very common thing we learned when we were in school. You can sue anybody for anything. It all boils down to what kind of an attorney you have and if they can pin down a creative way. So one of the ways that I would go down with it is by intentional infliction of emotional distress. If we can show they intentionally knew and they intentionally infected you with it. At the end of the day, it all boils down to what kind of a relief are you trying really to get out of this? Is it money? Because when we sue for most of the time, for the civil, it all boils down to money. But if you're my client and walked in, of course I will sue you, but I'll also advise you of other ways on how to seek legal help. That is why when they call us attorneys and they call us counselors, we are counselors for a particular reason. It's not just about suing.
Lucy, are you satisfied with the answer? Okay. All right. You might want to see the attorney later. But I'm going to go to Pastor Kingori. What is coercive control?
Coercive control is a pattern of behavior that seeks to take away the victim's liberty or freedom. In other words, to strip them away their sense of self-worth. And it may not actually have a physical damage or injury, but is a violation of the spouse's human rights. It's like taking the spouse for hostage, whereby they become captive in a very unreal world. And some of the signs that you need to be on the lookout in this kind of behavior is where you have a spouse monitoring your activity with your family and friends, or where they are constantly checking on you or questioning and being suspicious of your behavior, setting limits when you are out with your friends, isolating your family and friends, banning you from seeing certain people, stopping you from working in certain places, controlling how you spend your money, controlling how you dress or the style of your hair, telling you what you should not eat or you should eat, making some disparaging comments about your figure, putting you down sometimes in public, repeatedly telling you that you are not you're not, that you are worthless. In other words, trying to bring your esteem down, or sometimes allowing you or interfering with your privacy. And we see this all the time, whereby one spouse is constantly checking on the other spouse's phone or text messages, who is writing to you, who is calling you. All those are forms of intrusion of privacy. Or sometimes using the children to report on you. When did mama come? You know, who was she with? Or getting angry sometimes on very little things, and many other forms that you need to be on the lookout. Thank you.
Okay. If you can just pass the microphone to Reverend Moshina. There's a lot of social stigma when it comes to domestic violence. For example, most people want to display a perfect marriage, relationship, or family. How can we as a community handle this stigma? Reverend Moshina.
Thank you, Monica. Ladies and gentlemen, one way of handling this issue is when we learn to speak out. It is not normal when someone goes through domestic abuse. You, in one way or the other, know of a brother, know of a sister, know of a friend, know of a particular family that is going through. And here you and I are, and we're doing nothing about it. And Monica did say it. The best way is to report it. Let us learn to report on matters of domestic violence. The other thing that we also need to learn as a people is to stop being judgmental. Don't look for the wrongs, and don't go for the things that Pastor Kingori have said. We must learn to stop being judgmental and to see it as an abuse, as a moral crime that is being extended to one of us. It is against the teachings of the Bible. It is against the law of the land. And therefore, we must educate ourselves. And that is why we are here. We must speak about it. We must educate continuously. It is not an event. It is a process. And this is a long journey. And it will never be won as long as you are silent. It doesn't matter whether you are a representative. It doesn't matter whether you are a pastor. It doesn't matter whether your marriage is right. If you are looking the other side, you are part of the perpetration of domestic abuse. And again, we need to create awareness among the members of the community. Thank you, Monica.
If you can please pass the microphone to Kathy. Kathy, I'm posing the same question to you.
Well, one of the things is putting events like this, instead of just saying, hey, domestic violence occurs, domestic abuse occurs, we as a community must educate each other that it does exist and the impact it has on those individuals, on the children, or even the elderly, because not a lot of people realize when we talk about domestic abuse, it does occur to parents and the elderly individuals. So it's not just the individuals that's between spouses or even children. It encompasses elderly and parents. So by having these educational events, these forums, we're letting people know how it impacts those individuals, how it impacts the community, so that we could bring more awareness of it and have acknowledgement on addressing the roots of the issues. Earlier, Caroline and we were talking during the intermission that one of the things that prevented her from coming out, and it took her about, 2 years, if I remember correctly, is the stigma in our community. And I explained to her as well that in the Asian American community, there's this huge stigma of being divorced, of airing out dirty laundry. It is embarrassment to have these allegations out there, okay? And because of that, there are countless number of women and also men, because it's even more of a stigma for men. So they are hurting in silence. And we as community members, even though it may be neighbors or friends or even family members, even if we had that slightest intention of doing something, But by not doing it because we're afraid of getting involved, we are perpetuating the domestic abuse. So as a community, to do away with the stigma, we need to educate people. We need to let people know, stop labeling, like Monica says. Stop labeling. Until you yourself are in their shoes, you will never understand what it means to be in that position. So do not be judgmental why these folks, men or women, do not get out of that situation earlier.
And I'm glad you said that it's until you have gotten into that situation, you will never know. I want to remind everybody of Lady Gaga's song. She says that. If you can just pass the mic to, if there's anybody, you wanted to contribute to that, Sarah? Okay, Sarah wants to say something about that. Go ahead.
I want to talk about this because this is something I encounter a lot in our Kenyan community and in other African communities. It's very unfortunate that we are one of the people leading in domestic violence. And one of the things that I think us as a community can do, and it really saddens me because I have a legal obligation to defend you when you come to my office. But I get this situation where one person comes, they're being abused, like let's say if it's the female, they're kind of scared about putting the other partner in trouble. They don't want to report it. Because one of the things is, if you report like a domestic violence, even for people who are legal permanent residents, they can revoke your green card. So they're always afraid that if I report this, they may end up being in deportation proceedings. And so I don't want to report it. So what can I do to help myself without putting them in trouble? And you find most of these people just have to live with it. And also because when such scenario happens, it's very, very sad because our leaders, especially in our African communities, they'll be going to talk to the victim. Instead of empathizing with the victim, instead of trying to understand or even trying to give help to the victim, they're like, you need to drop these charges because unless you drop these charges, this person is not going to get out of the immigration proceedings. So I think also as a community, one of the way we can help is trying to look for a common ground. By common ground, I mean this. Before you go speak to this victim to drop the charges, first offer this victim help. Give her the healing that she needs or he needs, and then now go ahead and ask them to drop the charges. But don't just walk into these victims and tell them, hey, you need to drop the charges because they're in removal proceedings. So you're putting the abuser at a higher standard or in a more superior position than the victim.
You know what? Yeah, I know. Lois, I'm going to come to you because we had a live show with you and you did talk about that. I'll come to you, Lois. But I want to ask a follow-up question to Reverend Moshina. What is our moral obligation if we know that somebody has been abused by somebody that is illegal? Okay, they go to jail and they are going to be deported. Are we supposed to be morally sympathetic with that person that is going to be deported? Or should we just hold them accountable and say, you know what, you did something wrong, you got to go?
I think, Monica, you have answered. You have said it. They have to be held accountable. If we don't do that, then we legalize it.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. I want to go to something else here. And Kathy, you had something to say about that too?
Well, I just want to say something from the legal standpoint.
Okay.
When it comes to the allegations of abuse, whether it's for the spousal abuse or abuse of the children, there may be times that those allegations are true. Okay, I represent people and defend people in protective orders of alleged abuse, whether it's spouse or children. But sometimes there are times where people have a tendency to use the legal system as a weapon of tool to win, let's say, in a custody battle of children. In one of the scenarios, in my case, my client was the victim of that. The marriage appeared to be all perfect. It was flawless. All of a sudden, the husband filed for protective order alleging child abuse. When I looked at the facts, and CPS was called in, when I looked at the facts, I looked at everything, I knew something was wrong. Luckily, in that protective order proceeding, we were able to prove, and the judge felt that there was no abuse. So there was no allegation. The allegations were basically not proven. Then the divorce occurred, and we were able to come out to a successful resolution. In that scenario, it involved a professional therapist who had actually testified on the husband's side of behalf, saying that there was alleged abuse. And the way that we were able to win was that the question you asked was there was a moral obligation. Well, in Texas, there's a legal obligation. There are certain individuals listed of when you suspect abuse, child abuse, you have to report that. There's no ands, ifs, or buts. And that individual, the therapist who was treating the children, had gone before the court and testified that, yes, there's been repeated abuse. At that point, I questioned the individual and said, did you report that? Because you have to understand, these experts get paid minimum $3,000 per hearing, minimum. So depending on how much these therapists charge, that therapist was there for the hearing only. It was getting paid minimum $3,000. So it was to her benefit for this process to drag on. So when she made allegations, further allegations that abuse had reoccurred, and I questioned that, did you report that? That was the thing that actually showed there was no abuse and there was lies with the testimony. And that's how we were able to bring out that the entire allegations of abuse was not existent. So.
All right, thank you. On these next questions, I want us to kind of tread carefully and just go really step by step, because this is really, really important. How does infidelity and cheating contribute to domestic violence? And this question goes to the two Sarahs. So Sarah Depew, and now I'm calling you Sarah, Caroline. Okay, Caroline's got the mic.
Okay. Infidelity does contribute to domestic violence from my personal experience, but also to back it up, there was a research done by Ohio State University that was also funded by the Criminal Justice Research Center and the Group Health Foundation. And the subjects were abusers who had been incarcerated, and they would voice record during their visits, and they found out that the long-term dispute regarding infidelity provided nearly every relationship. Even if it didn't trigger the violence, it was an ongoing stressor. And when an ongoing stressor isn't taken care of, most of the time, the abuser reacts violently in terms of abusing the partner. So I would say yes.
Okay, I have a follow-up question, but I'm going to wait for Sarah first.
Well, first thing I want to say right off the bat is whether or not that infidelity or cheating goes on in relationship, abuse is never, ever justified. If somebody is not being faithful in a relationship, go get counseling or in relationship, but you never have permission to hurt somebody because of it. The other thing I would like to say is that, what's the right word here? I guess the accusation of infidelity I've seen used by abusers over and over as a justification for control. I worked with one man in particular who his partner wanted to go to community college, and he was convinced that she only wanted to go because there were other men there. So he tried to push her out of the car going on, I-35, 75 miles an hour, tried to kill her because he thought she wanted to go to school to sit by men. That constant accusation of infidelity is why a lot of people say they're looking through your phone or controlling where you are, why you can't go out with your friends, or that sort of thing. So it is definitely a recurring topic in abusive relationships, for sure. But a lot of times it is not the victim that is doing any of the cheating. And even if cheating does occur, it is never, ever a justification for violence.
Okay, I had posted something on Facebook, And one guy commented there, and he said, there's a difference between cheating. As long as you're coming home and you're not abusing anybody, it is not abuse. Can that be justified? And this can go to any one of you guys. Because if they just go out there, have an affair, they come home, there's no trouble at home, is that still abuse?
Well, that's still deeply hurtful, obviously. Like, that's no way around that. That's not being a good partner. That's not honoring the trust that your partner has placed in you, right? Because that's destructive to your bond. That's destructive to your relationship, you know. So, no, I would not say that that's just fine.
Thank you. All right. Whoever it is that had posted or commented on my Facebook, you got your answer. Okay. All right. Okay. So what is spousal rape? And is it a form of domestic violence? And this question is assigned to Sarah Brooks and Reverend Kingori. Reverend Kingori, let me start with you.
This is a very difficult question to draw the line. I mean, what they call as spousal rape is what is also called as marital rape. And it's something that is also new in this country from the research that I did. It did not come into effect until 1993, when all the 50 states adopted it as a crime. The biggest problem you find here is the ability to define what is spousal rape and consensual agreements. So it becomes very difficult to, in my view, to enforce and be able to justify. I mean, I don't know, to be honest with you, how can you justify, I'm married, my wife can't say that I raped, how can she justify that she didn't consent? And I guess it's a very difficult question, in my opinion.
I think Sarah's got this. The thing is, I think I remember one time Oprah said, when a woman says it's no, whether you're married or not. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Sarah, go ahead.
I'm married. I've been with my husband for 13 years. Out of the 13 years, we've been married for the last 8 years. And I know one thing. When I said I do, I did not sign up that I'm a sex toy. Anytime you feel like it, I'm there available for you. No. I always say this. Most people mistake marriage that is related to sex. And in real sense, it is not. Because, like I always say, if I really wanted sex, I could get sex from any person I want. I did not have to get into a marriage relationship in order to get sex. Okay? When we get to a marriage, there's more to marriage. So, I think this is one of those things that is kind of very, very dicey to talk about. And I think we have to figure out where to draw the line. And let me tell you why. If my husband comes and asks for sex, and I don't say no, and I just lie there in bed, and he does his business, am I going to wake up in the morning and say he raped me? You have to initiate and say no. If you don't specifically say no, then you cannot call it rape. And most women, unfortunately, have a tendency to say, I went through a spousal rape, but they did not do it. Because when you start talking to them, you ask them, what did you do to prevent it? Did you wake up and tell your husband, no, I'm tired, I'm not in the mood, let's do it tomorrow? Or did you just lie there and allow him? Because lying there and not saying anything, if you try to report it, it could mean consent. You have to specifically stand up and say no. And spousal rape does not only apply to married couples, it also applies to any relationship, let's say, for example, boyfriend, girlfriend. You can also go through the spousal rape. And I think the biggest issue with when you report this and when they decide to press charges, it all comes down to what you did to defend yourself, to prevent this situation, or did you give an implied consent by just saying, okay, not saying okay, but just lying there, because your husband could mistake that to mean consent. So women or men, Learn to say no. You have a right to say no in any relationship you're in.
Thank you so much. Pastor Kingori wants to say something.
I understand what, and I believe this whole, most of us are ladies here, but I think this is one of the areas we've got to be very careful because it's an area that is breaking marriages. Yes. When the lady keep on saying no, you're driving your husband to wild thinking that can lead to cheating, like we talked about here, and infidelity. And my concern here is even when it goes to court, how can the court really be able to legitimize and say it was rape? I mean, that's my struggle right now as a pastor. And therefore, as ladies, you've got to be very careful, even as you say no. Don't use it as a weapon to punish your husbands. Because most of the time, the men are the one on the receiving side. Thank you.
Okay. I will come to you. I will come to you guys. I'll come to the audience. Let's just finish this topic first. I'll come to you. I know you guys are burning. Okay. Let's just move on to the next thing. All right. This question has been assigned to Kathy Cheng and Reverend Moshina. How are children who have witnessed domestic violence, how are they affected?
Children who have witnessed domestic abuse usually would have signs of depression. They will constantly be in this fear or anxiety. And in certain circumstances, you'll see it in their academic performance. It could be someone who's straight A's, all of a sudden, the individual starting doing poorly in school for no reason. These are things that children would undergo. And at the same time, there's that huge sense of insecurity where they don't feel safe because the house is their haven. And when they witness, say, for example, the daughter witnessing the father, who's usually the daddy's little girl, witnessing the father beating the mom, that causes severe trauma. Mm-hmm. And in those instances where there's been witness of the abuse, it's usually, in those situations, the children need to go through serious long-term therapy to overcome that, to overcome those issues. And those are usually the negative impact that it has for witnessing it.
Okay, thank you so much. Reverend Moshina?
To a larger extent, we do not really get to know the long-term effects of domestic violence on children. We only see the now and here. But the children will exhibit challenges in their behavior during their teenage and their young adolescence life. And some of the ways in which young people try to communicate is by rebelling. And we may not understand the cause of all this. Children who have been exposed to domestic violence, they have behavioral problems in their adulthood. Children who have been exposed to domestic violence, they are constantly afraid of the parents harming themselves. What will happen to my mommy? What will happen to my daddy? They have eating problems. They have sleeping problems. In their decision making, children, even as they mature, they may not have the ability to make decisions informed by facts. A long-term effect, and many of us may not even be aware of it, is the blame the children extend to the so-called abused parties. How did you allow yourself to go through this? Many mothers are not able to reconcile themselves to this fact. when the young adults are now blaming them, you gave dad a reason to continue perpetrating. Why didn't you move out? Children in their adult life, and many are able to see this, they are refusing to enter into meaningful relationships because of being afraid it will be extended to me.
And the cycle continues. Exactly. All right. So I want to, Sarah, did you have something to say about that? No? Okay. All right. How can we as a community stop blaming and shaming victims who speak up on domestic violence? And this is going to Caroline Day and Sarah DePew.
I'll start by saying when you silence a woman, you silence the world. And we have to start having this conversation at the grassroots levels in our communities. When growing up, a lot of us were told, and I'm a Kikuyu, I'll say it in Kikuyu, siamo sieti sene. Oh, shomo. Meaning, domestic issues, you keep them to yourself. And that was so ingrained in us, such that when we got into relationship, if you're being abused, if you're being disrespected, you didn't want to go out there and share it with anyone, right? So we have to start allowing ourselves to speak up. Because when you speak up, you bring healing that needs to start in our communities. And this is one of the things that has been destroying our communities, silencing and shaming the victims. And one of the other things is, what kind of questions are you asking in these situations? Because sometimes you find that the questions are directed to the woman who's been abused, and some kind of questions are in the line of, so what did you do to cause him to hit you? Right? And when you go to your friends and families, they'll tell you, go back and work it out. So you're going to go back and end up losing your life. But the other thing, we have to be safe people. Start by being a safe friend. Start by being a safe friend, because we're all guilty of using words to shame, to further shame these abuse victims. So let's be careful of the questions we ask and allow them to have a safe place to express themselves.
Caroline, I think we want to talk more about if somebody comes to confide in you, and then you take that to somebody else. Does that make the person that's being abused not want to ever talk about it again, because now everything is out there, it's in public?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is what has been destroying our communities. A lot of women are going through domestic violence, and I shared my story on Facebook Live in Kwitu, and I cannot begin to tell you the amount of women who inboxed me privately. Others are even married to pastors, I'm sorry to say. Others are high-profile people we see in the communities, but because of the shame that they feel, and especially our communities, we've got to change this, guys. We really have to start with us and change how we treat people.
Thank you, Caroline. Sarah?
Well, Caroline, I think that was a brilliant answer, really and truly. When I saw these questions and I thought about what I would want to express, that was right on the money. And so I think that breaking down that stigma starts with victims sharing their stories. So I just want to real quickly say thank you to every victim who has survived, who's escaped, who shared their story, so that other people can have an easier time doing that in the future. Thank you. And the other thing I'd like to say is, yes, whenever someone comes to you and shares what they're going through, being very protective of that space and that trust, and being sure that you are asking questions about their safety, not what they did, or not try to solve it for them, so to speak. Don't offer what you feel is very helpful suggestions about the relationship part, but just be there to listen and be there to offer your support and resources if they ask. You let them know what their options are as far as if they don't feel safe, do you need to stay on my couch? If you need help, you could call me or anything like that, but not trying to put it on them as to what they need to be doing differently to manage their abuser, because I can tell you that if somebody is being abused like that at home, there's very little they're going to be able to do to respond in a way that manages their partner's feelings on that, right? So making sure that they understand that you're safe, that you validate them and are protective of their trust. But again, thank you to everyone who shares their stories to make it easier for others to do the same.
All right, thank you so much. And now I'm going to open to the audience. I know I saw Lois. Lois, are you ready for your comment? Okay. Mike is coming to you.
I wanted to contribute on the part of stigma. I want to agree with everybody that we should stop stigmatizing, the victims, and when they come out, when they get legal help and stuff like that. But I also tend to think in the society as it is, and it will always be, someone will always have an opinion. It's whether we agree with it or we don't agree with it, someone will always have an opinion. So I'm also for the victims being very empowered. I'm all for self-love. Love yourself. Know your worth. No, I'm not worth of being treated like this. It doesn't matter what somebody else will say or not say, but I know my worth. I know who I am, and I don't deserve to be treated like this. And baby, when you step up with your confidence in knowing who you are, they will talk for a few days, then they will keep quiet. So I agree.
I like your passion, Lois. Did somebody else want to comment on everything we have been talking about? Evangelist is right here. She wants to comment.
Yes. We want to go back to sex. We got to go back there because there's trouble right there. Yeah. We come from a community, we don't talk about sex. The moment you hear sex, you think about adultery, fornication, and hell. So we went through life when some of us, people didn't talk about sex. So now we grow up, and the attorney has said a word. I didn't get married. She said something. She did not get married to become a sex. I asked the question, what about if the woman is the one that wants to make the man the sex toy? Pastor Kingori hit it on the nail. Let me tell you something. We have to talk about sex. When people are about to get married, Pastor Kingori, Reverend, you're hearing me, as they come for that counseling, there has to be a session on sex. Specifically on sex. Because what happens is, I have a son and I have a daughter. So I'm very blessed to have two genders that I'm bringing up. And one thing that the men have to be told as they're growing up is that they just do not use their tools as an empowerment for themselves. That they just don't go out there and just see a woman and all you are seeing is below her waist coming down. That there is a reason for God to create sex. It is created by the Almighty God, the Holy One that sits in heaven where we all are striving to enter. We don't even know if we're going to get there, but He created it. So what I'm trying to say, not to waste a lot of time, is that there are people who enter into marriage with the wrong concept of sex. So when they are with their wives, then they think about just what this woman can be able to give to him. And that's when the woman starts feeling like, I'm being used here. But there are some of us women who are also going into marriage not wanting it at all. So how does that work? So that's where the no comes in. Because if I have also a different concept, the man is coming in, he wants it, he wants it, he wants it, he wants it. I don't want to talk about it. I just want it. And me, I don't want it. I don't want it. I just don't want it. because I have a different concept of it. Once I've given you 2 children, leave me alone. It's just a matter of you just give me the seed, I carry the baby, and after that, no, we don't want it. So the longer we stay in marriage, we become, this concept of sex or making love becomes a foreign concept. And each one of us start feeling like we're abused. And that's when it becomes a problem. Because then the woman is like, I don't want it. She wants the man, she doesn't want the sex. Because nobody ever said, how do we talk about it in our marriage? It should be, in my opinion, a topic that a husband and wife should be free to talk about. Because people have different appetites for sex. Why are you all not talking? Am I talking by myself? Is it only me who knows that there are 2 different appetites? You might get married to somebody whose sexual appetite is way up there. You need Gatorade and all energetic stuff to even keep up with them. And it's not only men, even women. Some of you hit 40 and the man can't even go to work. So now we come to pastor and we tell pastor, the man will say, I'm being abused. The woman is saying, no, I married you. You cannot go out now. It's time. So what I'm saying is this. As Pastor Kingori was saying, it's a dilemma even in the church. Because we don't talk about it. How many times have you scheduled sex? Yes. Because when you get tired, when people become too busy, you schedule your appointments for doctor. You schedule your hair appointment. You can schedule your nail appointment. You have got to schedule. Because unless you speak, women, unless you tell this man, as Tony was saying, I can't every night. But Saturday, it's you and me, baby. And the man should also be able to say, I can't. Nimechoka. I've come from work. I cannot, okay? Voice it. Because otherwise we are all going to feel misused in the marriages. And that will bring a problem if we cannot discuss this matter. If we can't come to the level of the church. That's just my opinion as a congregation member. I'm not a pastor. I'm just, passing through as I go to heaven. But that's what I think. That we also start off wrong. There's some very good marriages. I'm married. I've been married 23 years. And still working on it, okay? But there are things that we ignore to talk about, and they become a problem at the end.
I think there's something...
Well, hold a second. I appreciate what my co-host has comments she's made. They're fitting to her and some of you, but I think the men might seem to have a different idea, right? Yeah. You don't know ideas, so let me share with you some things about men. Did she say that once you get 2 kids, you have to schedule sex, or you have to plan? Yes.
I said there are some people who enter marriage with the concept that I'm just going to give birth. That sex is just for giving birth. Yes, for procreation purposes. Mm-hmm. And so once she has given whatever birth of the many children that she wants, then she doesn't see the need for sex again. I'm trying to help you all men that that the women, because they think like that, then now they have to come to a place of understanding that this man doesn't think like that. So we have to talk about it. We talk about it. So you say, Mama, this I want every day. And I said, no. I don't have that energy now. After all these children came out of my body, now we can schedule twice a week.
I just think about that differently. My job as a male is to work hard and to please my family and to really be loving to my wife and my partner and just make sure that if I want to have sex, I need to show the face and looking really good, make her feel that way that she wants me. So I'm a seducer, like I met you like today. I'll be like making the moves on you. Baby, how was your day today? I'll be all over that. I'll cook for you. I'll bring you food. I'll buy you candy, everything. Because I want her to feel like she really likes me. She wants to get there with me, right? Karen? I mean, I want to hear from these guys. Hold on.
Benson, I want to cut you short a little bit, because that's not the reason why we're talking about sex. The reason why we're talking about it is because of a man that abuses his wife and still wants to have sex.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So
that should never happen.
Hold on. So in that case, a woman is not going to want to do that, right? So, and in that case, that is when men say, you got married to me and you have to do it. Does that become rape then? Because this is a woman that is being abused, you know? And she's still being forced to have sex.
Anytime you're being forced to have sex when you don't want.
That's what we're talking about here. It's not even about, making love with your husband all the time. We don't have a problem with that. We will do it.
I think the main thing, if I understand the people correctly, is they're having difficulty, and that is why I said it's a dicey topic. At what point do you draw the line where it becomes rape?
At the point that he comes and beats you and he still wants to sleep with you.
Of course, that there's no doubt or question.
Exactly. So that's why we are saying, and I know some ladies here will agree with me, that happens all the time, and that is why we're talking about this topic. Okay. That's true. Sometimes they don't beat you. There's so many forms of abuse, right? So whatever form of abuse that somebody is going through, there has to be a connection. We have to agree on that, right? There has to be that connection. And we also have to remember that women are emotional. So they have to be connected. They don't have to, Sarah?
I think that is where the line comes. Sometimes you don't have to be connected, but when
you just have to have it.
No, let me say this. When you're in a marriage relationship, it's about compromise. Sometimes if you don't feel, and that is why I said you'll hear women say they've been raped by their husbands, but when you start talking to them deeper to find out what do you mean, you have to realize when to draw. And I think we have to be very, very careful not to give the wrong impression. That is why I said you may not be connected, but if you don't tell your husband specifically no, you don't tell him no, you can, in law, and they will agree, there's what we call implied consent. If I don't say no and I just lie there and he has his thing, I'm not connected to it. But am I going to wake up in the morning and claim that I got raped?
Okay, we understand that.
You have to say no, and it has to be in a point where your consent has to be very specific. That is why it becomes even very, very difficult for law enforcement to go ahead and charge this particular kind of crime. It is a crime. But as a woman, you also have to know when to draw the line. Otherwise, we're going to be giving people the wrong kind of impression, whereby if I don't feel having sex, I didn't like it, or I wasn't connected to it, I'll wake up in the morning and say I got raped. So we have to make it very, very clear to all people that you have to say no. You keeping quiet and waking up in the morning and saying I got raped, and I'm speaking this from a legal perspective, and maybe my fellow colleagues can correct me, but if you don't specifically say no, you can give your implied consent. As I said, lying there, being disconnected, don't wake up in the morning and say, I was raped.
Sure. We got that. We got that part.
I think I totally agree with you, Sarah, totally. If you say no, no man should force his wife to have sex.
Right.
My question here is that ladies, don't use sex to victimize your husbands or to win scores. You get the point? But when there is a no man will even enjoy unless you are rapists.
Exactly.
So all we are saying is let's be balanced and let's be in perspective.
I think now we are almost like we're kind of on the same page now.
Let me tell you something.
Okay, very quickly, Sarah,
and
because
the
we have to
reason
move
why
on to
I'm
something
saying
else.
we have to trend very carefully on this particular, because remember, when you accuse someone of that rape, there are consequences that will follow them for the rest of their life. They will lose employment. In some instances, they even have to register as sex offenders. So we have to be very, very careful, because most of the time, being in a marriage relationship, sometimes you have bad temper and you do things that in the morning you'll wake up and regret. We don't want a situation where women wake up in the morning, we're giving them the wrong impression. They're using this sex as a tool in their marriage to harm each other.
I'm only going to take one comment from the audience, and that's it. We have to move on. Abida over there, she has...
I'd like to get a man to comment on
Okay,
these
can a man
because
comment?
we're getting underutilized. Any man or you're scared man?
There's a man over there.
He already sang. Any other man? Okay. Any other man besides Jesse? Okay. There's a guy over there, and I think I'd like to hear his opinion because he's quietly been...
Does he want to talk?
Yeah, he stood up. He was anxious.
Okay. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Richard.
Sarah? Oh, Kathy wants to say something? Okay.
Hi, my name is
Go ahead.
Richard. I'm from California. My question is the legal fee probably some of the things that prevent the victims from coming out? Because sometimes the lawyers are very expensive. So my question is, how is the legal fee structured? Is it like hourly or you charge by the issue? And number two, what would you advise a victim who perhaps cannot afford legal fees? Is there like welfare or something that can help them?
I think we were
to
going to come to that. You moved, no. You kind of moved ahead of us. We're going to come to that much later in the program. So we got you.
Can I have Jesse make his comment?
Okay, Jesse, make your comment real quick. We have to move on.
My comment is the most common expectation of the society is that the woman is always the abused. Yet there is a lot of men who have been abused and they're afraid of the shame and the stigma of being looked up like a man who was a loser. Now, you mentioned the fact that if a woman says no, it's rape. What if you are legally married in the eyes of God and the church? And she keeps saying no every day. It goes from days to weeks to months. And when it does ever happen, when she finally does say yes, it is like sleeping with a log. What does that man do? The man has vowed not to abuse or to touch the wife. But you know sex was part of the deal, right? And this man is not willing to cheat or go out there. Where does this man run to? And what does society offer this person who is in such a situation?
Thank you, Jesse.
All right. I see Pastor Karen over there. I don't want to... Okay, just give Pastor Karen the microphone and that's it, and we have to move on.
I think I'm going to answer Jesse about the woman saying, no. What are you doing? You as a man. You must be doing something wrong, because I don't think as a human being, and I'm talking on the point of a woman, if you know how to touch your woman, definitely the body will react to that. So this no today, not tomorrow, I don't know where it's coming from. Something is wrong. Or I don't know who she is. Otherwise, it's hard for a human being to be literally touched by a man and still say no. So think about that first. However, Pastor Kingori said, where can you draw a line of the no? Looking at the culture where we have come from, and especially people who are older a little bit, we were taught to say no when it's a yes. That's our culture. So you should know your woman. When she says no and it's no, or no is a yes. This is something you need to know from your wife when you marry them. This is not something that you should be accused of rape because she said no. You should know her better. There's a time I would say no, and and I mean it. There is a time I would say no, and you know I mean no. So it is this thing of knowing no. I think I'll come back because I have something else, how to end domestic violence, but for now, that is it.
Okay, we will come back to you, Pastor Karen. I think we're having a good conversation here. All right. Benson, Kathy had a comment. I do want to close before she...
Earlier we mentioned that if the woman says no, that's essentially the man has to stop. But sometimes the woman doesn't have to say no. If the man comes into the room with some kind of object and puts it on next to her, or makes a threat, I'm going to kill your brother or kill your family or whatever, she doesn't even need to say no. Essentially, she's having sex under duress. So I just want to clarify that. In those circumstances, you don't really have to say no. There are different circumstances that would still that would still make that rape.
All right, let's move on to insecurities, pride, and ego. How has role reversal contributed to domestic violence in the immigrant community? And this question is going to Sarah Brooks and Reverend Kingori.
I think one of the ways we've already mentioned is whereby you find that in our cultural, or rather in our African community, men, if a man stands up and says that they've been abused, everybody is looking at them like, how can that be possible? So when we come here in America, there's something about us women that we just get empowered. We feel now we can, and we start being, unfortunately, if you look even in the last recent 1.5 years, we've had so many Kenyans, women on social media about domestic violence. And if you dig deeper into them, you'll find that in most of those instances, it's the women, when the police come, it's the woman who ends up being arrested instead of the man, because in real sense, the woman is the one who started the whole commotion. So I think that conception, or let me say, I'll call it ignorance, of us women coming here and thinking that we're empowered, that now we can abuse our men, because the law here is there's a very wrong ignorance that if a situation happens, it's the man who's going to be arrested. I think that is the one thing that has increased domestic violence, and especially with women being the ones that the abusers. And also for the fact that we get a lot of men are in abusive relationship. Earlier on, we talked about different kind of abuse, and there's what we call coercion, whereby you live in fear. You don't want to come out and tell people that you've been abused. I am telling you, there are men, especially African men, who would rather die in an abusive relationship than wake up in the morning or in the middle of the night and go to a shelter, or even call a friend to tell a friend, I need a place to crash for tonight. They will stay in that house, be abused, be beaten, and then they'll hide from the society or from people for like 1 week while they're trying to heal that black eye. I think that is one of the things that we have that has really affected us as immigrants. The other thing is financial independence. There's this thing before a woman...
Sarah, I'm going to cut you short. What I wanted you to talk about is, see, Africans, we come here, maybe at home you had never, held a baby, changed the diaper, and then you come to America, all of a sudden we have different shifts. And this man who had never changed a diaper now has to be left home with a baby. That's what we're talking about here.
Wow, that's quite deep. I'll let Reverend first talk about that, because I have some thoughts on that, because that is one of the key factors that has increased the domestic violence in women. And that is exactly what I was talking about. You meet these women because now they are empowered. They feel that if I took care of the baby from 8 to 8 in the evening, when you come from work, it's time for me to take a time off for you to take care of the baby from 8 to 8 in the morning. And when that doesn't happen, that is why you find all this domestic violence increasing. And it's very sad and unfortunate, because most of the time it increases with the women, and at the same time the men want to retaliate, because the men are taught they should only be the breadwinners, come home and put their feet up. And when they have to do this role of the women, they're questioning, why did I marry you in the first place? I married a wife to take care of the kid and for me to provide with that. And that, unfortunately, has increased a lot of this domestic violence.
Pastor Kingori.
I think on this question, I would say that it's very important that people get to refer to the owner's manual about marriage. We have to ask ourselves, where did marriage originate? and what was the intention and what was the role of the man and the woman. Because if we have it wrong, no matter how much you try to do research or try to, think about it, we'll never get it right. And I want to say here that the role of a man and a woman are supposed to be complementary and supplementary to each other. There should be no competition when a couple, or when a husband and wife respect and trust and love each other. Amen? Amen. There were some studies that were done, and it appears on the Daily Nation from Kenya of Friday, January the 16th of 2015, on why we should rethink about the role of a man and a wife. And it's very interesting when I was going through that research. It says that science teaches us that we are biologically wired to perform the roles that God created us to perform even without being told how to do them. And it says that compared to men, women are more gentle, they are more uncompetitive, they are more intuitive and emotional, and they are more natural than men. What am I saying? What I'm saying is that when you come here from Kenya or from any other country, there has to be a shift. The fact that I never wash dishes in my house requires that I make a shift to know that my wife is coming late or I'm coming early and have to wash dishes. The fact that I never made the bed does not make me less of a man to make the bed in my house. That understanding and shift for men who come here is very, very important, even for ladies. But unless that is created and people discuss about it, you will always have conflict. So there has to be a shift in our thinking, and they also have that respect, that the fact that I'm washing dishes and I'm making the bed and I'm changing diapers does not make me a woman, so that my wife should look at me as a woman. And the fact that she can mow the yard and she can take the trash out does not make her a man. In fact, I ought to see that as a complementary role. She's complimenting me and be able to respect her for that. Thank you.
That's a great answer. Sarah, I can only give you 30 seconds.
Okay, I'm going to apologize if what I'm going to say is going to offend anyone. I don't mean no disrespect to anybody. The other thing that I've also, and I hear this a lot when people come to my office, especially looking for divorce, and they're telling me, Sarah, can you believe me, who's educated, who's making more money than him, and he dares do blah, 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 blah. You understand? And this has also led into a lot of this, because back home in Kenya, we were used to whereby the man always makes more money than a woman. When we come here, that in most instances, that role is reversed, because the women end up sometimes being more hardworking. The men allow them to go to school to empower them to go study. But then when they get that education, they come back and flip the table. And that right there is one of the key reasons. I would tell you 60-70% of from at least our Kenyan community in those divorces, most of them, that is the one reason why they'll be citing that this man is doing this because and I'm making more money than them or I'm more educated than them. So I think that's one thing also, as foreigners, we need to sit down and rethink where we are and where we are heading. It will help ease a lot of this domestic violence and a lot of these divorce rates.
You're right. We have a lot of that as well. But I'd like to move on to the next question. I'd like to move on to the next thing. So how can couples ensure their partners feel secure in a relationship? This is for you, Reverend Moshina, since you already have the mic, and then we'll go to Kathy.
Thank you, Monica. Pastor Kingori have said something that we have not really gone into its depth. That God is the originator of marriage. And until and unless we see our partners from the perspective of God, we will never have it right. Because what I will see is the outer beauty. I will go with that which is good. But that does not really make one feel secure. The Bible will remind us that a man and a woman, when they are joined, they become one. They are complementing each other. And therefore, as a husband, it is expected of me, as from God, to see the good that God has given me through that lady. And it is my position to affirm that you are beautiful, or you are awesome, you are excellent in every way. And what happens is sometimes we look at the mistakes. We go for the looks. And when the looks are not pleasing to the eye, then I will turn out to be abusive in the form of how I'll address you, in the form of how I will view you. My attitude is informed on wrong premises. In fact, we are to affirm one another.
Go ahead, I'm
And
sorry.
I will speak good of my wife in the presence of their children. That is very important. Let the children know that I love their mother, and the mother of my children is such a wonderful person. I am affirming. Every partner should affirm each other. And it is also very important to avoid criticizing. We are very good at criticizing, very good at blaming. When we do that, the other party will feel very, very insecure. Let us also appreciate that in life, we are not immune to mistakes. Don't overemphasize a wrong. Indeed, when I do something wrong, my spouse has a duty to lovingly correct me. And when my wife is corrected in the same way by the husband, let us see it as not a rebuke, but as an expression of making me a better partner. The other thing is to promote my spouse. If she has got like a responsibility at her office and she is going to be late at work, it is my responsibility even to make her feel that I am with her in what she's doing. It is my responsibility as a husband. Then she will feel I don't see her through the lens of the body. I don't see her through the lens of the money, the income she is contributing in the family. But she is a gem to be valued, to be appreciated. And in fact, every time I'll spend as much time as God and as the duties allow to be with her. Thank you.
Okay.
The key, I think, to any marriage or relationship is communication. Without the communication, you could throw everything out the window, in all honesty. And the lady back there earlier was saying that you should know your wife. If a man truly knows his wife and touches her in ways, there's no way she's going to say no. And a lot of times I see this where women don't communicate to men. What is it that they want? How do they want to be touched? How do they want to be romanced? And that creates a problem because men think that doing the deed is it. For women, we need to be loved, romanced, because we're more emotional beings. While men, they just want to solve the problem. So their solution is have sex. But without that communication of what the parties want or desire, you're going to constantly have that disconnect. And when a woman tells the husband, I don't want to have sex, or I'm not into it, to a man, I think one of the reverends are saying, you need to be very careful why you're saying no. And that's part of the communication process. Because if you've communicated that, well, honey, I got all these things on my mind, these things, all these bills are piling up, money's not coming in, who's paying for this? That's causing the woman to not want to focus on sex. If the woman's taking care of all the household chores, taking care of the kids, and also working, coming home to make meals, at the end of the day, she's not going to have the energy to have sex. if she would communicate, and if the husband would communicate, say, honey, what is it? Do I need to help you? How do I chip in to take some of that load off of you so that you're not as stressed or you're not as exhausted, that at the end of the night that we're going to have that time to connect, that intimacy, then both parties will be secure. And also, because men are from Mars, women are from Venus, communication is the hardest thing. So just because women say something doesn't mean it registers the same way in men and vice versa. And that's why that communication, maybe for a man, you have to go through A, B, C, D and explain it, while for a woman, you could go explain A through D and skip the in between as long as you explain it. And that's where that communication comes in. A lot of times is that miscommunication. And when you see signs of miscommunication, it is time to see a therapist. And if you continue to avoid that, it'll lead to resentment or abuse or divorce. The root of the problem is communication. We're not taught from childhood to communicate or how to communicate. Because in reality, if you truly love the person, if you think about it, at the beginning, you guys, we go through the dating process and everything's fine. Both the guy and the girl are having sex like crazy, like mating like bunnies, like they can't stop. But at some point, they stop having sex, or the woman stops wanting to have sex. There's a reason for that. As women, we are social beings. And if men would understand that.
I think some women have said it's because romance went out of the window. The flowers that used to come, they don't come anymore. The phone calls that used to, just be, how are you doing during the day, doesn't come anymore. So there's no that prepping for during the day to even be ready for sex later on. So romance is out of the window.
Right, because a lot of times men feel like, well, I've got her. The ring is on. I don't need to do any of that, right? But for a woman, nobody ever said, hey, honey, the minute I put the ring on, all that's out of the box. None of that would ever occur. But if you communicate at the beginning, hey, full disclosure, because I love full disclosure as an attorney. My thing with my husband was at the beginning, before we got married, full disclosure. Honey, I'm a bad cook. I don't cook. Don't expect me to cook. And I'm not just saying that because I'm lazy or whatever. Cooking is not my thing.
Okay.
It's full disclosure. If we had that full disclosure at the beginning, then, yeah, I can understand the women not expecting that.
Mm-hmm.
But just because you put the ring on, you can't expect that certain things that you did to romance the other party. And it doesn't have to be just men doing that. Same thing, women. Why would you cook for him and all of a sudden after you get the ring, stop cooking? Oh, that's not my job. Right?
Okay, I am going to cut you guys short. I know you still want to say more about this, but we have to move on to something else because we are running out of time. I'm being told that we are not doing very well managing time here. So I'm going to give somebody a chance to comment or ask a question, only one. We can only take one. Anybody? No? We move on? I see Jane over there.
The guys are very scared. This is a very tough topic for them. It's okay, guys. Relax.
Yeah, thank you so much, Monica, for doing this. And I think for me, I just want to challenge our leaders. I think like tonight, what we are hearing is, problems with culture, problems with people dealing with their emotions, not being able to, handle emotions, triggers, coming to a new country, and not being able to handle all that. And I feel like, our leaders here, the church leaders especially, I think for me, I've seen like most of the problems or people have come, the problems have been in the church because they are silenced. They are silenced and told that, vumilia, like our MC was saying, or sometimes they are just told you don't have enough faith. So all those things. As a matter of fact, I'm a survivor myself and I got help from the secular world. I had to literally go look for people that, can give me help, and it wasn't the church.
Jane, I'm going to cut you short. We're coming to that. That's our next topic.
We're coming to that. We will
So
talk
just
about
challenging our leaders that they need to start talking about
okay.
it in church.
For the audience, I want you to stay within the topic. Don't go outside the topic because you don't know what else is coming. So what they are talking about, when you get a chance to comment, please only comment on what they have been talking about and nothing else, because you might go ahead of us and we're still coming to that topic. All right. I need us to move on to something else, and I want us to talk about mental illness. What role does mental health and substance abuse play in domestic violence? Sarah, DP, if you can just answer that. I'm kind of like skipping questions now because of time, and so I'm just giving it to Sarah because, you know, we haven't heard from Sarah.
Yes, mental health and substance abuse issues play a significant factor in some domestic violence situations. If somebody has unresolved trauma, maybe they witnessed violence as a child and understood that to be normal, then as they grow up and they haven't processed that with a therapist or with their faith leaders or somebody like that, then they might have unresolved impulse control, anxiety, depression. They might respond in unpredictable ways and they need help. On substance abuse, obviously if someone's addicted, they behave in any manner of ways that can make them more prone to abusing their partners, especially with financial abuse, you know, such as draining their partner's accounts so that they can have more funds for, you know, buying drugs and alcohol with and so forth. So when I worked for Child Protective Services, I can tell you right now that mental health and substance abuse played a significant role in almost every case that I had.
Thank you so much, and that's all we are gonna discuss about mental illness. We can just move on to something else now. Now back to Jane, what she was talking about. Religious communities can be incredibly helpful or incredibly damaging to victims of domestic abuse. How can it be helpful in combating domestic violence? And this goes to Caroline Day. And again, Sarah Depew, you still have the mic. Okay, Caroline.
First off, the leaders, I'm grateful that they're all here.
Caroline.
Yes.
I'm only going to give you 1 minute. Please,
okay.
Make it quick.
Okay. It's to acknowledge that those attending churches, they could be abused victims who attend your church. And make sure you have resources, because I actually got help through the church. Those are licensed therapists. So make sure you have resources. And if you don't have a licensed therapist in your church, make sure you're connected to one outside the church that you can point those abused victims to.
Okay, thank you. You know, I'm going to want Reverend Moshina and Pastor Kengori to please comment on this.
Let me make a quick one. I do agree that churches and religious organizations have not done a good job in terms of protecting spouses that have been abused. And I think it is the high time that church own up and make a move. Let me talk about what we do in our church. Our church, we have 2 licensed counselors who deal with issues to do with not only spousal abuse, but even counseling marital issues. And I think every church ought to be able to, if they don't have the capacity to hire a counselor, they need to be connected to a professional counselor so that things they can be able to deal within themselves, they can refer their members for the purpose of being helped. Thank you.
Reverend Moshina, what Jane over there was talking about when pastors are telling, you know, and I'm saying pastors, I know we have you 2 guys here, I'm not saying you, but some people have claimed that that's what they have been told by their pastors, go back and pray about it. Can you please comment on that?
I think I would go with what my dear brother, Pastor Kingori, has said. That in the past, we own up that many pastors were not in a position to be of much help. And why we are saying this, Pastor Kingori maybe is pastoring about 400 people. He's the only pastor. And he's receiving all this kind of requests. He may not have given adequate attention. He may, or I may not have been exposed to the available resources. Let us not now turn it into a blame game that I failed and it was not happened. let's look at it on this other side. We have people who come to our churches. They are in front of our desk. And Monica, they are begging you. I have come in strict confidence. Don't open up. Don't tell anybody. Don't share this. They are not ready and they are not willing. But please, I think one of the panelists has also said, and I want it to be known, today, as a pastor, there are issues I'm called by the law to disclose. And I have to make disclosures. So I can't keep out. I'll either pray with you, I will refer you to people who are professionals in this area. And these are the people sometimes our dear members don't want to be referred to because they fear they will be exposed. So these are issues that we cannot blame the members, we cannot blame the church leaders, but we are happy. In this forum, we are now speaking, we are admitting, and we want to see the way forward. Thank you.
Monica,
Thank you so much.
Let me just one word here.
Okay, go ahead.
I think also as you blame the leaders, because I'm one of them, most members will not share their problem until it's breaking. And by the time they come, it is too late for you to intervene. So we encourage you also to reach out for help when you sense some yellow flags in that issue. Secondly, most of you are aware about the FIPA laws now. You don't have to be afraid. If you come and share something with me and say, this is private and confidential, I am under an obligation legally not to talk about that issue until you grant me permission. And if I do that, you can take me to task. Thank
But
you.
only if somebody's life is not in danger.
Exactly.
Okay. We needed to clarify that. Okay. Well, you answered the question. I think I can come to you guys. Does anybody have a comment? We finished with that. Anybody has a comment on that? Oh, Sarah wants to say something. Yes. Sorry.
And I'm sorry to raise my hand earlier while you're
No,
talking.
it's okay.
But no, I just wanted to share something that my church has done that I feel like is positive in this area that maybe other people might be inspired to. But we wanted to be a support for victims in our own church. So what we did is inside the men and women's restrooms and in the back of the stalls, we would include information about how to get help for people to learn about abuse and how to get help while in that private space. But we also created a church cell phone, that we just paid with donations from the offering rail, that went to church members to be able to, if you need help, you can call this number and someone that you already know will answer. And we supplied them with a packet of resources and kind of coached them as to how to do this appropriately. They're not professionals, right? Like, we're not saying this is a substitute for therapy or professional intervention, but to start that conversation and give people that safe space. It was just something we tried, and I feel like it went pretty well.
All right. Thank you so much. We need to move on. Okay. I think we now need to talk about finances. And audience, if any of you has a question and you don't want to ask publicly, you want me to read the question, I'll take that. And just find a way to get it to me and I can ask it for you. Just don't write in cursive. I don't read cursive. All right. Finances has been a major cause of breakup. Let's explore that. How do finances affect relationship? And this question is for Kathy and Reverend Moshina.
Problem in a marriage or in a couple's relationship is that men and women view finances differently. So you may have one that's a spender, one's a saver. One believes understands the value of money, while the other one spends it thinking that can be made easily, and spends it frivolously, like gambling or anything. Or in a relationship where one party thinks material possession is more important than the preserving the money for saving for other purposes. And when you have those differences of opinion with respect to finances, it causes discourse between the parties and usually results in arguments, and depending on what type of argument, it could escalate to domestic violence.
Reverend Moshina.
Finances are sources of power and control. And you find the one who has got better control has got authority over the other person. When we are not open with our sources of income, we create suspicion. When we don't disclose our commitment in terms of finances, the debt we have, the assumption is I have money and I don't want to use it on the family obligation. And therefore, it is very important for the people who are in the relationship to avoid any form of abuse. It is very good when we are open, we are on the table, and we know this is my income and this is your income. Then we agree, we have consensus on the way, how do we share our resources. But at the moment, and this is a major, major issue, and this is my view, with a lot of respect, the moment money becomes mine and her money, then she will use it in her own way and I will use it in my own way. There will always be a cause and a reason for, we will see things from a different perspective. And therefore it is very important that we agree to talk about money. We agree to prioritize. What is our priority? The moment I have my own project, allow me to use this Kenyan language. It is my project. I want to use my money on my side of the family. And I don't want my spouse to question me. We have serious, serious issues. When I'm given money to do or to spend on a particular issue, then I divert that money. I go and I use that money on an issue or something that my partner does not think it was necessary, it was not a priority, it deprives the comfort of the family. Finance becomes a major issue in domestic violence. We have to talk about money. And again, Monica, as I conclude, our MC opened to us. How many people, before they enter into this kind of a relationship, allow someone to take them through financial education on family issues? Many of us, we just want to get money, we want to spend it. But until and unless we are taken through, financial education on family finances, there will be issues even in my own family. Thank you.
Just a quick question, and I just want a yes or no answer. Is that part of the counseling before couples get married that
Yes.
you guys go through?
Yes.
Okay, that's all.
But how many people come?
Okay. Before you say something, Pastor Kingori, those of you that are participating in fashion show, if you can please step outside, because now we are winding down. If you can please step outside if you're participating in fashion show, please. And if you want to participate in fashion show, it's time for you to be a model.
I was just
Go
going to
ahead.
add one thing.
Mhm.
Finances, one solution I have always been for, and I still stand on it, is transparency, accountability. And not only that, every property that you have as a family should be in joint ownership, period. Couples should also have a will. If you are married, no matter whether you are 2 or 3 years old or 50 years old, you ought to have a will that specifies, in case of any eventuality, this is how business will be taken care of. So investment ought to be in joint names. There ought to be a will. And couples need to be transparent, like he said, on how much we make. Our budget, also work on budget. Because without those things, like he says, money is a god. Thank you.
Can I just ask if we could just have one meeting, please? So we can hear each other. Okay. Sarah, this is where you were talking about finances. Now you can say, but you only have 1 minute, please. So you can say what you were going to say about finances.
What I wanted to say about finances is culturally, we grew up in a culture where we've been taught to depend so much to men for financial. a lot of these women that I speak to who've been victims of domestic violence, one of the reasons why they tell me they have a difficulty getting out of the abusive relationship is because they don't know where to go. They don't know how they will be able to survive or give the kids the similar lifestyle they were accustomed for. And most of the time you find like people live in a mortgage. Maybe you're paying a mortgage of $2,000 and your income is $3,000. So that mortgage was being paid through 2 incomes. So most of them are like, when I live here, Sarah, where do I even start? And so instead of them having that courage to wake up and move and maybe go have a fresh start, they will continue staying in that abusive relationship. The other thing, as I said, is you find even men who are in this abusive relationship is they don't know how to call friends or even to go to these shelters, so they continue going through that abuse. And then you also find that most of us have families that we've left back home. They do pressure us at times, and this is one of the key reasons why a lot of immigrants will stay in this abusive relationship, because the family back home is expecting you to support them. And so they're like, Sarah, I have to support my family back home. And at the same time, I have to support myself and support the family that I have here. So what option do I have? So to them, they're equating the fact that they have to support families back home and their family as one of the reasons that it doesn't leave them with any other option other than to just continue staying in this abusive relationship.
All right, thank you. Carol, did you want to say something about that, finances? Very quickly, please.
Just full disclosure before you get married. Check each other's credit history. Those are important things. Because sometimes you get married and you find your significant other had, God forbid, $1 million in debt, no offshore accounts that you're not aware of. I think that's what I just need to add.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I think we need to move, unless somebody else over here has anything to say about that, about finances, we need to move on to something else. And let's talk about, did anybody have a question or comment about finances? Pastor Musembi, I see Pastor Musembi's hand go up. Very quickly, Pastor Musembi, just 1 minute, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to say very quickly, most of these things that we have talked regarding communication, regarding premarital counseling, the question is, as one of our pastors have said, what if they don't come? How many do come? We have also some people who marry outside the church. Those who go for counseling are the people that you are supposedly saying they will marry through the church. How about the people, the majority who marry outside? They don't go. I want to make a recommendation very fast. If you want a good survival in every marriage, number one, it is good, in addition to counseling, you can seek some books, knowledge. There are some books that are written that have knowledge, that you can acquire knowledge. And you can seek a book that you can read together. Number two, very fast, it is good for pastors or leaders to organize some seminars, constant seminars to address these things in a setting that will cause people to open up and to learn more. And the third thing is, in business, we have something that we call benchmarking. Benchmarking is looking a company that is doing something better than you, and you want to be there, and you benchmark. It's good also for couple to benchmark in another couple that they see they are doing well and be able to be mentored.
Thank you, Pastor
That
Musembi.
is very important.
Thank you, Pastor Musembi. I see one more hand over there. Please take only 1 minute.
Thank you. Just something that I thought, and it may be off topic. We who are here raising young ladies and young men, let's also be open with our young people, our young adults, and also tell them that it is not right for them to be hit, and it's also not right for them to hit another person. Just something that I thought, because We are raising teenagers. We are raising, by the time they go to college, maybe they are exposed to a boyfriend who abused them. Let's also, as parents, be open to hear our young people when they come to us. Let's be available to listen to them. Let's also talk to them and ask them to be alert. A lot of choices that our young people make, maybe they go to a place, they see somebody is insulting their colleagues, they go to a restaurant, this young man is hitting the waiters and pouring stuff and all that, and that should be a trigger that this is a violent person. So mine is, let's be very, very open to our children so that they can come and tell us when something like that happened, because it just doesn't start at 30s. It could also start when our kids are teenagers. Thank you.
Thank you, Purity. All right. Now, if we can talk about legal help in case of domestic violence, legally, how can one protect themselves? And this question goes to Kathy and Sarah Brooks. You are the legal experts here. Kathy?
When there's abuse, first thing you do is ask for a TRO, temporary restraining order, which will be in effect for 20 days. Protective order is something that the application, you put in the application for protective order, and what happens is that if the court finds that there was abuse and is likely to occur again, that protective order will be signed, and there will be stipulations of what the individual, the perpetrator, could and could not do. So maybe that individual can't come within 100 feet of the victim, or that individual cannot see the child. And on a separate note, once that protective order is signed, there's if it's a marital relationship, the divorce proceeding occurs. So a lot of people think that the protective order and the divorce would occur at the same time. These are two separate applications. So one's a protective order and one's the divorce. Usually when you have that protective order in place, and that it shows that there's abuse and is likely to occur, it usually dictates what happens to the divorce petition. So,
Sarah.
Sarah, about if you can afford an attorney. Let me address that question the gentleman asked. What if you can't afford an attorney? Throughout the state of Texas, there are nonprofit organizations to each, not just counties, but cities, that will have nonprofit organizations that would assist and provide legal services to individuals under a certain income level to assist in filing for these filings. In respect to abuse, okay, when this abuse occurred, the DA, district attorney, will get involved, especially when there are children involved or when there's abuse to the spouse or the individual. So in that scenario, you wouldn't need an attorney right away. They would file that protective order, but eventually you would need an attorney for the divorce or the parent-child relationship petition.
Okay, Sarah?
I think the other way to protect yourself legally is you have to start keeping your proof or your evidence. If, let's say, you've been raped, you need to report it to the police because they have to take some evidence at that time. If, let's say, for example, you've been hit, don't hide for like a whole week or 2 weeks because you're trying to heal that black eye. Even if that's the option, you need to take pictures. You need to at least talk to someone. The other thing is you need to report to the police. And I always tell my clients and my friends, you don't report it to the police because you want to harm the other person. You're reporting it to the police to protect another person in the future from going through the same stigma that you've gone through. A lot of these abusers won't stop unless they are stopped. So when you keep quiet, you don't help yourself, and at the same time, you don't help the next person because this person will finally move on and they'll get another person and they'll put them through that process. The other thing the other way to report to protect yourself legally is sometimes I've had clients who've been abused, but when the police officer comes, abuse by itself carries some side effect. And one of the effects is you'll hear a lot of these women who've been through domestic violence. They're very, very bitter. They tell you, oh, all men are like this. They stereotype all men. So some of the time when, let's say it's a police officer who comes to, you call 911 and a male police officer comes, they tend to keep quiet. They don't know what to say because to them, they're seeing this man is not different than the same guy who was abusing them. So one of the things you can do is you can request the police officer if they come to speak to you alone, if you don't want to speak in front of your abuser, or you can even request or walk to a police station and request to speak to a supervisor or even speak to a female police officer if that's what you're comfortable with. The other thing I'd like to insist, one of the ways to protect yourself legally is, remember, all this shelter, it doesn't matter what time of the night it is, you just need, if you don't have a way to get out of the house, like transportation is an issue, you just need to call these police officers. These police officers, when they come, they will ask you, do you have someone who you can stay with? If you don't have someone you can stay with, they will help you get a shelter around your area where you can go spend the night. And then they will even walk you, not walk you, but drive you to these shelters. So if you are a victim, you just have to know there are resources out there. You just have to utilize them.
And Sarah, this is where then we need to insist on the fact that safety comes first. So immigrants that are afraid to report abuse because they're thinking they're going to be deported, can you address that?
I would like to tell you this. If you are a victim, you should not be afraid to call the police officer. When that police officer comes to you, they are not there to ask you about your immigration status. They are there to report the incidents that happen, and they will take you to these shelters. So you shouldn't, there is that conception that people are worried that I'm not in good legal status, I shouldn't call the police, I may end up being in removal proceeding, which is not true. Remember, these officers or these police officers, they've been sworn to serve and protect. And at that time, even that police officer, they are more concerned about protecting you from your abuser. The other thing is this: if you're afraid about even calling the police, remember their shelters, their toll-free numbers that you'll all be provided with. These numbers, you call these shelters, they have the resources, they have the counseling, and they're not there to judge you or ask you about your immigration status. All they need is to protect you and to give you a place and to help you get back onto your feet. So you should not be afraid. And then the other thing in regarding to the question that was asked about the legal fees, well, unfortunately, most of the attorneys have bills to pay and have things that they have to. But there are other resources. We have these charity organizations that offer legal help for free or for a very minimal fee. And also, as I always tell my clients, sometimes we're all human. You can go to one attorney, try to explain your situation. Example, let me speak on my behalf. If a domestic violence person comes and they have the evidence, and this is where I say the key is to picking up this evidence and collecting. You bring me pictures where I'm looking at the evidence and I'm seeing all this beating. I mean, consciously, there's no reason why I should turn you away from my office. I will work with you and I'll help you. You'll be paying me later on, or I will even do pro bono. Most law firms have a certain number of pro bono cases that they have. And also by the state bar, we are required to do a certain number of pro bono hours every year. So the line becomes is, what makes you, or what you have to make me, because so many people want to do pro bono, but I have to pick and choose on how many pro bono cases or what I can do for you. And if you really have good documentation and good evidence, most probably you will get an attorney who will represent you even if it's for free, and they will report those hours to the bar that they've done pro bono hours, because we have to report those pro bono hours every year of how many hours you've done.
I think we have done great with time, unless if somebody else in the panel has something to add on those topics that we've been talking about. Anything to add, anything to say? You guys feel you've covered everything? Okay, they look good. Okay, does anybody have question, comment? No, Pastor Msembi, I'm not going to give you the mic again. Can we have Abida? Abida wanted to say something. Abida? Pastor Musembi, I'll come to you if nobody else has a comment.
Yeah, I would like to speak to the victims. It's not gonna get better. If you see signs of abuse, it is what it is. Please, I have been a victim of domestic violence for 7 years. Not that because I was in need of help, not because I was financially unable to do what I had to do, but I thought it is gonna get better until I got spinal cord injury last year. I think God did it for a purpose. And while I was in the hospital near death, the person came to the hospital and wanted to pour hot tea on my face. Ejected everybody out of the hospital room and the nurses, and he wanted to pour hot tea on my face. It's not because that I was in need of him, but it's because I thought for the 7 years, I thought things were gonna get better. No, once is an abuser, always is an abuser, unless there is a transformation. Believe me, they don't change. Whether it's a woman or a man, it is not gonna get better. At first, I tolerated that abuse because I was a community leader in Maryland, and I suffered silently because everybody looked at me on things that I did, but it did not change. My abuser had been charged with even with first-degree attempted murder and all that, but I thought I suffered silently because I couldn't go to my pastor, my other colleagues, I couldn't go to them. And I suffered silently until I made this point, until God brought me down on my knees. And I spent 3 months in the hospital at Fort Worth, and this abuser came to pour tea on my face. And then after I got out of the hospital in a wheelchair, I was wheelchair bound. This May, he wanted to throw me down the street on a wheelchair. So they don't change because you are standing up. They don't change because you are bed-bound. They don't change because you are sick. They don't change. Once an abuser is an abuser until a major transformation. I don't know whether it is transformation from Christ or transformation of whatever it is. It needs to be a transformation. That's my advice.
Thank you so much, Abida. Thank you so much. Pastor Karen. Yeah. That's the last one.
I'm sorry about that. Mine, I just wanted to talk to our pastors. From the beginning, you heard Reverend say, when victims come to pastors, they are told vumilia. But you have said a very good word that this is not that time. And I agree because things have changed and we are living in a different community. But looking on domestic violence, assume I'm in your church, Pastor Kingori, today, and I'm being abused. I come to you and then you send me to somebody in church and he's a counselor. Number one, I'm trying to make things not go out. So I will feel like I am not comfortable to speak to someone else in church. So my advice to you as pastors is to look for help outside the church. Yes, the church may have counselors, but it is good to send your member away where they can talk freely. And then number two, during marital counseling, I think that is where we can start ending domestic violence. That is where you can tell the couples, don't hit your wife. And if you are hit, don't keep quiet. That is where you tell them, if this happens, you need to stop it. And you, even if it's the man being hit, let them know during counseling. Then when you call like women's meeting or men's meeting, address domestic violence in those meetings. Let the women know there is an answer of domestic violence. Thank you.
All right, I think we are done. Oh, Millicent, who? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Resources.
There's something so important that Sarah needs to tell you. She wants to tell you very quickly. Sarah, go ahead.
For all of you, because I know a lot of us here are immigrants, I want you to tell you that there's a way actually you can get a green card if you're a victim of domestic violence. You don't have to be physically abused. You just have to prove that you're a victim of battery or extreme cruelty. Remember we talked about the different forms of domestic violence? It doesn't have to be physical. It can also be psychological. For example, you've been married to a U.S. citizen for long or a green card holder, but they don't want to file for you. They keep on maybe blackmailing you or keeping you lingering in the relationship. There's a way you can actually, if you can show what we call extreme cruelty. So you just have to be you just have to be a spouse. If you can show that the abuse was caused by a U.S. citizen spouse or former spouse. Even if you're divorced, you can still get a green card through it. The requirement is you just have to do it within 2 years from the time that you got divorced. Okay. The other thing is this. You also have, even if the abuse was caused by a U.S. citizen parent, meaning if you're a child, you can still get a green card. Sometimes people, according to the immigration, a child they consider you to be under 21. But let's say you're over 21 and you are a victim of this abuse, you can still apply for it even though you've aged out from being over 21. The only thing you have to prove to the USCIS is the reason why you delayed in filing or applying for this green card through VAWA is because your parent who was abusing you, who was a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, was actually the cause of why you delayed. In other words, the same thing I said. Maybe they didn't want to give you their A number. Maybe they didn't want to give you their certificate of citizenship. Or they didn't want to give you their birth certificate for you to file. You can still file even if you age out, even if you're over 21 years. The other thing is this. Remember, does not only apply to U.S. citizens, even for legal permanent resident. The abuse doesn't have to be from a U.S. citizen. It can also be from a legal permanent resident. Now, when it comes to ex-spouses, here are a few things you have to remember. If marriage ends in divorce because of abuse or cruelty. Now, if you know you're a victim, I advise you to get an attorney. Why? You want to make sure that divorce of yours is for cause, is for a reason. You don't want to get it through no fault. You want it to specifically say the reason for your divorce is because there was abuse or cruelty. Once you do that, as long as you file it within 2 years from the date you get your divorce, you're still good to go ahead and apply for that green card. The other thing is, if your abuser dies, and I get these a lot from people, your abuser dies, even if your abuser dies, you can still file for that VAWA petition, as long as you do it within the 2 years from the time your spouse dies. The other thing is, and this is the key thing, remember, you cannot remarry. If you remarry before your green card is approved or before your 360s, the VAWA petition is approved, then you're out of luck because they will deny it. So if you know you're a victim, you may want to wait on that engagement before you go walking against the aisle until you get your immigration status all figured out and sorted out. So the requirements are very simple. Remember I talked the key? Remember, one of the most important things is you have to gather your evidence. You have to gather your proof. It will all come down boiling to that. For example, when it comes to, I'm not even going to go with the domestic because a lot of these physical abuse, those are easy to prove. The difficult part becomes how to prove these cruelty. For example, my colleagues talked about situations where they're tracking you. They're sending you threatening messages. Those messages, you need to keep them. Don't delete them. because those are some of the evidence that you're going to use to show that you're a victim of cruelty. So you have to prove that that cruelty happened while inside the United States. That's very, very key, inside the United States. So what happened if, for example, the situation is so bad and you decide, you know what, I'm done with this American life, I'm going back to Kenya. Does it mean you can't apply? Yes, you can. All you have to prove is that that abuse was done while here in the United States. You can file it even if you're outside the country, as long as you do it within the 2 years. The other thing is you have to prove that you're of good moral character. I cannot even emphasize. As long as you're an immigrant here, stay out of trouble, be of a person of good moral character. If you have some criminal stuff pending in your background, those are going to hinder you. If you get those traffic tickets, go ahead and pay them, because those traffic tickets are not going to affect your new immigration status. However, when you don't start paying those tickets and you start getting arrested for a traffic stop, those are little things that will come back to show that you're not a person of good moral character. Also, traffic ticket may not affect you, but let's say, for example, by the time you go file your immigration paperwork, you have like 5 traffic tickets you haven't paid. Surely, that goes to show you're not a person of good moral character. The other third thing you have to prove is that you resided with your spouse inside the United States. Your spouse, the only exemption to this, if you're married to, for example, people who are in the military and they're overseas, then still, you can still go ahead and prove. But the key requirement is you must have resided with your spouse here in the United States. The fourth thing is that you entered the marriage in good faith. What does good faith entitle? It says that when you get married, you just have to show that you did not get married to this person because you wanted to get your green card. You got married because of love. There are so many ways to prove that love, and you also have to prove that you resided together and all that kind of stuff. And one of the key things to remember is when you file through VAWA, even USCIS have to protect your confidentiality. That means if, let's say, for example, you're afraid of giving your address where you're living because maybe you have a protective order, you can use a friend's address and you won't be questioned. The other thing is the law prohibits USCIS making their decision or denying you just because of what your abuser says. So, for example, if your abuser writes a letter to the USCIS, and I see this happening a lot once they found out you've applied for VAWA, they will go ahead and draft a very nice letter to USCIS telling them that they did not abuse you. That alone is not a reason for USCIS to deny your green card. So, ladies or men, don't be afraid to report. There are so many ways to protect yourself legally.
Wow, thank you so much, Sarah. And we are coming to a close for our session. So, Gladys, you have something for the panel? You have something? Yeah. Yeah, just give it to them. We just have a little token of appreciation. Yeah, just give everybody. Thank you so much.
Give a shout out to Monica. I'm sure you learned a lot. We have a lot more to do, to learn. I think this is something we should do again. We should continue, to be continued.
How many of you agree that we should do it again and again and again? And that next time you will bring your friends, your neighbors, your in-laws, outlaws, community. This was good. Was it good? Did you learn something? Did you learn something? How about we give it up for the panelists, our pastors, our Lord. Wasn't this a knowledgeable panel? We had every representation. We are so happy that you, volunteered your information. People pay big money, trust me. If you were to enter in some of these offices, apart from the pastors are pro bono all the time, but the rest, then people pay big money to get this information. And I'm just grateful that Monica, you did not shy out, you stepped up, and you decided to do something about domestic violence, which is domestic abuse. And you know what? Continue shouting from the rooftop. We are all behind you saying this must stop and this has got to stop. We are building a better community. And as the church, as the pastor said, forget about the old, the new has come. The new has come. The new has come. Now you're empowered. We know what to do. You can go to church. You know that the church can also refer you to the outside council, and don't say no. We have been empowered. Is that true? Now we are moving on, but we got a lady who's going to come and give you some more, just 5 minutes resources. You can stretch yourself for a minute. We're going to go into entertainment because after all this, walk without play makes you a dull girl and makes that guy a dull guy. So there's going to be some get-together, some entertainment, some dancing. But before we get there, we're going to hear from a beautiful lady here who's going to give you just about 5 minutes of resources. We are going to have a fashion show because, you need to look good. You need to figure out how to look good as you go about your daily stuff. We have a fashion designer over here. So we're just about to wrap this thing up, and we're about to get into entertainment. There's a DJ in the house already ready. DJ who? Jeez. Show yourself. Yeah, there he is. Ready to rock
Mr.
this
King
place.
himself.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, give me just 1 minute. The lady that is coming is a mother. She's a manager at Family Choice Senior Living. She's a beauty queen. She's a model and a domestic violence advocate. She looks good, I'm telling you. Give her just 2 minutes, 3 minutes of your time as she comes to tell us about resources. None other than Vicky Duke.
Yeah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As you've been told, my name is Vicky Odu.
Mike.
Oh, okay, sorry. I just want to let everybody in this meeting today know that 4 years ago, I was not the same woman you're seeing before you today. 4 years ago, I was homeless with a 4-year-old by my side. I was not able to work or go to school in this country. But because of the resources which this country availed for me, only because I said something has made me become who I am today. And I am very proud to share the resources with each and every one of you so that anybody who is going through what I went through 4 years ago can one day stand up and say that my life turned around simply because I said something. I'm not there yet because domestic violence stole so many of my prime age. As an immigrant in a foreign country where you do not know anyone, you don't know who to confide to, just the way we've been talking. But America gave me an ear. America listened to me. America changed me. I love this country. Let's go ahead with this. Okay, mine is going to be a slideshow. I don't know if it's going to work.
The projector is out.
Oh, the projector is out? Okay, then it's okay.
It's coming back.
It's okay.
Keep praying, people.
Okay. These are things I know often. Okay, as we still set whatever is going on, I just want to let you know that the resources which are available in this country, they are all free of charge. Nobody is going to charge you any fee once you report that you're a victim of domestic violence. We have shelters. We have shelters in here. I had everything put together, but unfortunately the projector isn't working. But first and foremost, I always advise the victims to come up with a safety plan. The safety plan is whereby you have to put everything together. You have to put everything together to enable you live in a safe way, because it's not safe to live. But I also give victims important phone numbers. We have important phone numbers. And it's going so fast. I work and I was rescued with Irving Police Department. And that's why most of my staff, I always mention Irving Police. But you can call the police department of the county you're living, or depending on where the abuse is taking place, just call 911. I always talk about having resources because that's where I live. Those are the people who saved me when I was going through my stuff. And that's why you'll be seeing having all the time. But we have even the domestic violence unit, victim service unit. We have all those numbers. But anyway, I think I'm just going to cut it short because we are late. But anybody who needs to talk about resources, I'm going to be here until the end of the event. Feel free to come to me so we may discuss and let you know about all the resources available, because they are there. They are free of charge, as I have said earlier. And you just have to talk. Always say something. And if somebody confides in you, do not judge them. Do not expose them. Do not go to social media and start talking about these people. It's very wrong. Let's treat each other with dignity. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, give Vicky another loud applause. Thank you, Vicky. They asked me to introduce her, and they forgot to explain what she is. She's an athlete. She's everything, so they didn't mention that part. We're going now to move to the fashion show. We have our own Aisha Hasmin. Where is she at? She's a fashion designer.
All the way from Houston.
All the way from Houston. Where is she at? Where is she?
The DJ.
DJ. Let's roll.
The music.
Come on. Where she's waving. Are you coming back? Okay. Music. DJ.
Loud music.
Let's get going.
Whoa.
Okay, we'll start with that.
It's Chris with the drama boy. I'm in love with you. There's nothing that wouldn't do. Catch a bullet for you, as long as you want me to. I'm in love with you. There's nothing that wouldn't do. Catch a green for you, as long as you want me to. Best mama ngojera uba kama tanga sekera kwa vino vya paikoko kutoka Manzabe picha twazi twanga kisera posti insta wanga kwa kera baada ya chali kimoko cause I just wanna let them know Africa music Africa music Africa music you're my Africa music you're my Africa music
Round the world, girl, I've been looking for you. I think I might just find you in Africa. Girl, you know the sound when I come around. Lost you in the crowd, girl, pick up your crown. Yeah, do it now, do it now. Do it now, do it now. Penzi tali kama ngojera, kuba kama tanga segera. Kwa vioroka baikoko, kutoka Manzabe. Picha twaze twanga kisera, isa twanga kwa kera. Matachali ya moko. Cause I just wanna let you know Africa music
Africa music Africa music you're my Africa music
Kama mzuke mekupanda kwanzia leo niite daddy when I hit that spot baby call me honey asali nitadiririsha utaipata kwa ndani vitendo na vipitisha mambo yangu sifanyi gizani sakunipa alama za chui chui tabia za kifisi mistambui napendo kifunga kwa buibui baby go down low go down low go down low baby go down low go down low go down low I make you dance oh giddy 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 go down giddy 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 go down giddy 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 go down go down I make you dance oh giddy 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 go down giddy 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 go down giddy 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 go down go down go down ndio navyozitingisha unadatisha nimeshikanisha one time na nishapata picha vile nitashikanisha ardhi na mbingu katikati nijenge pulu ya mado baby girl utashawa na mado imagine shopping uende Bangkok itisha on the night baby go down low go down low go down low my baby go down low go down low go down low I make you dance so giddy 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 go down giddy 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 go down giddy 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 go down I make you dance so you say what I got Pascal hey giddy 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 go down giddy 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 go down mama you done make me fall in love you done make me fall in love fall in love we should have married cause you done make me fall in love you done make me fall in love fall in love my sweet potato I wanna tell you my mind oh I know understand oh cause I just see well but they say love is blind oh you see as you day so you are the love of my life you are the love of my life oh I cannot deny oh I wanna make you my wife oh see I never thought that I'll find someone like you that would capture my heart and there's nothing I can do I used to brag to my friends that I'd always be a player but since I said mama you done make me fall in love
2018 Diana Muhoro
we should have married cause you done make me fall in love fall in love every day is a brand new day every time that I see your face you're my everything and anything that I would ever need in this world I'm so glad that you came my way I'm loving every minute we spend babe You're the reason to everything that I am today. I love the way you come around and touch me. The feeling that you give me drive me crazy. I love the way you look and call me baby. Girl, you mash up my world. I love the way you come around and touch me. The feeling that you give me drive me crazy. I love the way you look and call me baby. Girl, you mash up my world. You're my queen. I never, ever, never let you go, go. You're my queen. I never, ever, never let you go.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the designer herself,
I never leave your side, baby. You know
all the
you're
way
my
from
world.
Houston, Texas, Makofi. There she goes. All right. All the way from Houston, Asia Hamis. She's going to tell you how you can get the nice outfits. By the way, there are shirts for men. I don't think she just didn't have a volunteer for men to come and display the shirts she has, but there are wonderful shirts for men. So listen out to how you can order her wonderful stuff.
Thank you so much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for inviting me here. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, the team. Please come to my table there. I'm based in Houston. You are welcome. I can do anything you want for men and women. Thank you so much.
All right, my coffee.
Makofi kwake. Thank you very much.
DJ?
We're coming towards the end of the evening.
DJ, we need music for them to step out. They just don't go without music.
They
Put
don't
the
move without
music so
music.
they can step out. Now you're talking. All right, give it up one more time for the designer herself, Asia Hamis.
In the mix.
Company by State of Kenya 2018, Diana Muhoro.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we're going to the other part of the program. It's a last part. You saw those models. If some of you guys are not married, there are a lot of models there that might looking for men to marry, not to play with. So, but you will get a chance to dance some of those most beautiful women. We have VZ King is in the house. He's going to tear it down. VZ, I'd like to welcome him. Come on, brother. This is it. Okay, bro. You got it full.
All right. DJ. How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? I'm happy to be here. How many of you guys happy to be here? Hello. Beautiful ladies. Hello. Fellas, I don't know about you guys, but me, I like to love the ladies. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to love the ladies tonight. Every beautiful lady, make some noise. That's what I'm talking about. DJ.
We are open till midnight and past if you really want to dance, so we are on. I've been wanting to dance the whole night.
I'll tell you. All right, let's get it poppin'. If you know you're a fine girl, I'm here for you.
Woo! MDFN.
You know what it is.
Another hit song. Dance on the beat. She is a fine girl. Like the way she dey wind her body slowly. She lovely girl, so mommy. Got your mozzarella. She is a fine girl. Like the way she dey wind her body slowly. She lovely girl, so mommy. Got your mozzarella. Yeah, I'm all you like me to go there. Pretty girls them want me, 'cause I know how to spend that money. Yeah. Get them to drink some all of me. I'm all low and me no need. I don't hammer, I don't blow. I let people carry go. Yeah, you know, say, no be my partner, body. I the money throw away. I the money throw away. I the make the club they fire. The whole world lift me higher. Shirella, she is a fine girl. Like the way she dey whine her body slowly. She lovely, girl, so mommy.
Kajama Shirella, I am here to have fun. Are you guys having fun? DJ, we're about to entertain these sexy ladies. I'm happy. Give me another one. Give me the second one, baby. These ladies ain't ready. Because I'm ready. DJ, don't fail me. Don't keep the ladies waiting either. Yeah, love you every day. Look at them. We got to love them every day. How many of your men love you every day? Let me see some hands, baby. How many of your men love you every day? Like Monday to Sunday. Well, we're going to love you guys every day from Monday to Sunday. TJ. All right. We're back on it. Let me love these ladies today. What's today, Sunday?
Oh, yeah. Easy King, yeah. Yeah. Ifeoma, Wanyama. Ifeoma, my lady, Wanyama. Afurungina munagi gebio. Afurungina munagi gebio. Afurungina munagi gebio. Afurungina munagi gebio. Afurungina, this is your body na fire. Oh my sexy mama, from head to toe na designer. Oh my, so many things I love about you, girl. You're the only one I love, my girl. Is it the way that you wind up? Is it the way that you go down? I'm on the way you dey twist and wind your waist, it dey make me no wonder. Is it the way that you wind up? Is it the way that you go down? I'm on the way you wind and twist your waist, it dey make me no wonder. Yeah. Wanyama. What is your heart desire? Baby, I give you what you require. And I promise I no go retire. Baby girl, I will be here forever. So many things I love about you, girl. You're the only one I love, my girl. Baby, maybe not the way you wind up. Baby, maybe not the way you shake on. The way you wind up, twist and shake it for my ego. Boom, boom.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you with me? Are you still with me? I don't think they're ready for this one. You're ready?
Visit King on the microphone, and the shawty looking so oh, shawty booty swell, and let me get up it, let me get up it. Sexy girl, what I want. How much she bad? Every left phone, she gets swagger. Every bad phone, come come in the love, know the ad brand new. I never give you the stick, you gon' love me. You gon' love me, money, you gon' love me. I never give you the stick, you gon' love me. Yeah, if I give you the condom, would you handle it? Sexy girl, would you handle it? Like a bicycle, then she ride on it. Oh, then she ride on it. Yeah, if I give you the condom, would you ride on it? Sexy girl, would you ride on it? Like a bicycle, then she ride on it. Oh, then she ride on it. Like a bicycle, then she ride on it. She's beautiful, money, I mean, she beautiful. I want you find Rihanna, not smart thing. Sexy with the body when you whine it. And girl, I like when you pop, drop, grind it. So many things I can do with your body. The way you look back and grind, you they try me. Whoa, she my medicine. Me one lickle up your sexual healing. Give me a dose, baby girl, and them free me. Give me a dog, baby girl, and free me. I give you the conga, would you handle it? Sexy girl, would you handle it? Like a bicycle, let you ride on it. Whoa, let you ride on it. Yeah, if I give you the conga, would you ride on it? Sexy girl, would you ride on it? Like a bicycle, let you ride on it. Whoa, let you ride on it. Like a bicycle, let you ride on it. I'm a to bad, I'm a to do, you look, yeah. When it comes to swag, you the rock well. I should the walk out the go, you the ring bell. Yeah, you the ring bell. Yeah, you the ring bell. She got a man, but she alone in the club, yeah. See what you doing to me, girl, it's not fair. Girl, it's not fair. Captivated by your love like I'm in jail. I wanna dive in your pool, let the ship sail. Oh, let the ship sail. I wanna dive in your pool, let the ship sail. Sexy girl, would you handle it? Like a bicycle, let you ride on it. Oh, let you ride on it. Yeah, if I give you the condo, would you ride on it? Sexy girl, would you ride on it? Like a bicycle, let you ride on it. Oh, let you ride on it. Like a bicycle, let you ride on it. I see the thirst in your eye, baby. Looking like you need me. All right. Let me talk to my baby. And now the answer, give them the answer. Give them the answer. I wanna talk to her. I want my body leg on. I say my body leg on. Every time you come around, give me fever. Like Twitter, they follow, she the leader. She the leader. Like Twitter, they follow, she the leader. She the leader. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I'ma let Mr. Demsa talk to you, talk to you. It's the sexy things you do that's got me in the mood. Oh girl, you blowing my mind. It's the sexy things you do that's got me so confused. Oh girl, you blowing my mind. That's you that I want, you that I need, that I want, you that I need, that I want, is you that I need, that I want, is you that I need. Shit, the time that a G gotta kill for. Matter of fact, only thing that I live for. But hey, if your man ain't around, call me. I'll pick first balls of your sound. One wish, girl, I wish that single angel. All the girls wishing they're you. So cool, look, I can front page you on the magazine, so your haters pay my view. Now let me upgrade you. Talking money, baby girl, busy, got a bank full. So fly high, know how to act right. Sexy with a smile, that's right. And I'm it's tight. Sexy things you do that's got me in the mood. Oh girl, you blowing my mind. It's the sexy things you do that's got me so confused. Oh girl, you blowing my mind. Woo! You let people down. Woo! All right, one more figure 80. You see, girl, you drive me crazy. Why this girl she murder? Coca-Cola body figure 8. I wonder, see, girl, you drive me crazy. Why this girl she murder? Coca-Cola body figure 8. I wonder, baby, know they trying me. There's no replying me. All these niggas crying me, cause busy in the house and you bounce tonight, yeah. We just they chop money, blow away. Fine girl, make how they carry you, they go, If you really want it, baby, come show tonight. If you get the chop money, boy, all you spend tonight. You cost me living, and we living life. It's time for people to see me and realize it. Baddest girl, she murder. Coca-Cola body figure 8. I wonder, see, girl, you drive me crazy. Baddest girl, she murder. Coca-Cola body figure 8. I wonder, nice to know ya, baby. She's a goody something I cannot wait to tell them. Hey. Da-da-da, swing my jungle over. Carry you go to the altar, yeah. Just shoot Peru. I want to make you to be my boo. Sweet chocolate, you. I'm on your own gun. The way you they rotate you. I noise. Iji tobi tokuruba. Ay, Baba Mijo, baby, baby, follow me crazy. Girl, you drive me crazy. Oh. Baddest girl, she murder. Coca-Cola body figure eight. Oh. I wonder, see, girl, you drive me crazy. Oh. Baddest girl, she murder. Coca-Cola body figure eight. Oh. I wonder, you want it, oh. Baby, me like when you roll it, oh. You want it, I gotta give it to you if you want it. Me want it, oh. Baby, me like when you roll it, oh. You want it, I gotta give it to you if you want it. See, girl, you drive me crazy. Oh. Baddest girl, she murder. Coca-Cola body figure eight. Oh. I wonder, see, girl, you drive me crazy. Oh. Baddest girl, she murder. Coca-Cola body figure eight. Oh. I wonder, see, girl, you drive me crazy. Baddest girl, she murder. Coca-Cola body figure eight. Oh. I wonder, see, girl, you drive me crazy. Baddest girl, she murder. Coca-Cola body figure eight. Oh. I wonder. You know, I'm having fun still. Are you guys having fun? Are you having fun? All right, DJ. Let's give him Fine Girl again. Fine Girl. Because I see some fine girls tonight.
And the FM, with another hit song. Dance on the beat. She is a fine girl. Like the way she done wind her body slowly. She lovely girl, so mommy. Got your mozzarella. She is a fine girl. Like the way she done wind her body slowly. She lovely girl, so mommy. Got your mozzarella. DJ, yeah. I'm where you like me to go there. Pretty girls, they want me. Cause I know how to spend that money. Hey, hey. Get them to drink some all of me. I'm all low and in on me. I don't hammer, I don't blow. I believe people carry go. Yeah, you know, say, no be my partner, God, eh. And the money throw away. And the money throw away. And the make the club, they fire. The whole body lift me higher. All of the girls, them love me tire. Because the boy is hot like fire. She is a fine girl. Like the way she done wind her body slowly. She lovely girl, so mommy. Got your mozzarella. She is a fine girl. Like the way she done wind her body slowly.
Thank you very much for having me.
Got your mozzarella.
Thank you very much for having me, ladies and gentlemen. I had fun and stay beautiful. No violence, domestic or foreign.
nimekuchagua wewe nikupende mama, sitaki mwingine, aushi usiniache, usinitende usipende mwingine, moyo wangu ni mwepesi, umenikalia chapati, nafanya vituko kama chizi, kukupenda sitasizi, moyo wangu ni mwepesi, umenikalia chapati, nafanya vituko kama